WTUG HD2 Northport and W265CG Tuscaloosa. A Town Square Media Station.
1 minute to beat. You can forget about it. Touchdown, Alabama.
Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Alabama 1st and 10 on the 12. Again, Houston. He's got a hole. He's over. Alabama touchdown.
I'm just wondering if your listeners know how good a football player you were. I can still see you playing that fullback, knocking those players out of the way. And I believe I could have run behind you.
Martin, I can remember when we came to summer and you were playing fullback up there. And I saw you in the weight room and watched you work out in the weight room. But you were strong enough to pick up the whole weight room. I wanted to fix it, and I run back to the biggest mistake we ever made.
The Martin Houston Show with national championship winning fullback Martin Houston, giving you 1 hour of intense, hard-hitting analysis from an insider's perspective. It's time for the Martin Houston Show on your home for Alabama sports, Tide 100.9, and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Good morning. Welcome into the Martin Houston Show on Tide 100.9 on your radio dial. The Martin Houston Show can be listened to in various outlets today: Facebook Live, Martin Houston Live, and Tide 109, as well as on YouTube at Martin Houston Live and on Twitter at Martin Houston 35. Also broadcasting on X's and O's Sports. So we're all over the place, all over the internet, but most of all, we're right here live and local on your radio network. And we have a college football semifinal special that takes us up to 9:30. So I get to spend 2.5 hours with you, and I have my partner, X's and O's, Xavier Houston, joining me today. So we're excited to be with you, and we'll be bringing in a couple other guests here in just a moment. We're going to start things off with Mr. Ryan Fowler, but like we do each and every day, I want to remind you that this is a day that the Lord has made, so let's rejoice and be glad in it. Take some time today to notice someone, love someone, serve someone, be the difference you want to see in the world today. I'm going to try something a little different, see if this works here for a second, but here's Mr. Will Anderson. We're going to see if we can get him to kind of kick the show off right here with the little audio from Mr. Will Anderson. And Xavier, you're live, son. So here's Mr. Will Anderson.
And then what did you tell me about hitting the quarterback? What is it?
It brings me great joy.
Oof. Good luck out there, everybody.
That was Will Anderson saying it brings me great joy when he was asked about by Miss Holly Rowe what it does when what he feels when he gets to hit quarterbacks out there. And hey, listen, if you don't think that Mr. Will Anderson is hyped and ready for this game, you got another thing coming. So let's go ahead and bring Mr. Ryan Fowler in to the program. Good morning, Ryan. How you doing? You're in with the Martin Houston Show on the special. We got semifinal special we got with X's and O's, Xavier Houston, Martin Houston. So how you doing, sir?
Hey, it's good morning to you guys. I hope you guys are having a great morning. Good morning to Xavier. Good morning to Martin. It's a foggy day here in Tuscaloosa. For those who are out there and about, make sure you drive careful, have your lights on, as Captain Ray would remind us. Visibility is very limited this morning if you're going anywhere in Tuscaloosa. So be safe out there. But it's good to be able to talk with you guys.
Well, Ryan, I know your time is of a premium as you are preparing to head out to Dallas. Is that correct? You're going to make it out there in time for the game?
We will, and we're going to be up here in just about 15 minutes. I'm a hitchhiker today. I've bumming a ride, so I appreciate the guys who offered me a ride. So, yeah, we're going to be leaving out of here in just a couple of minutes, Tuscaloosa Airport, and heading out to Dallas, and looks like the weather's going to be okay other than a little bit of fog. I'm sure we'll get above that and we'll be okay. But, going out and let's see what this Alabama team, I'm so curious to see, was the Georgia game an outlier, or is it a confirmation of what this team reached their potential? Was that overtime game, 4 overtimes against Auburn in that last minute and a half, was that the Alabama team that we've been waiting on? And, Nick Saban was asked yesterday about the patience. And he said, well, I don't even have patience to set up in this seat. So he wasn't going to throw his team under the bus. But, when you look at this team, I think we'd all been kind of waiting on that Georgia game to show up. And there's been quarters where they've been able to do that. And they've probably even been a half that they've been able to do that. I think Mississippi State over there was a really good game. But, they put it all together. I kind of want to see if this Alabama team is a continuation of what happened in Atlanta, or do they regress and slip back into some old habits?
Well, Ryan, I guess the first question I would ask you is, you're asking that question, do you feel like maybe that Auburn game was in the leadership world, they say catalyst moment, they say tipping point, they say, all these different things that represent a moment when the script flipped and the light bulb came on, all those different things. Do you feel like that's what that was? Because I said it before the Georgia game that I felt like that's what the Auburn game was.
Well, and I feel like that they got so close to losing something. And in Tuscaloosa, whether it's fair or unfair, the goal every year is to win a national title. If you get a chance to win a national title, it's considered a success. If you don't, in this current time, the current era that we're in, it's a failure. And I think really when you think about it, when Auburn took the ball back and you're in desperation. I mean, you're just hoping for a chance. And somehow, I go back to the heads-up play and, Daniel Moore's canvas. I'd love for him to paint Jordan Battle, getting Bixby out of bounds and slowing down that close, because
without that tackle,
could have made it. Yeah,
we don't win that game without that tackle.
Oh no, not even close.
So what if this team goes on to win a national title? And this is that's the second that that we all remember with Jordan Battle, the heads-up play. Now, there was a lot of significant moments in the Auburn game. I think Will Rocker's kick in overtime, was one of those that, you had to have. So there was just a lot of moments, but it was just one of those moments that I think you almost lost what you thought that you had a goal, and it was almost taken away from you. Now you get a chance to have a second life and a new energy, and I think Nick Saban said it following Georgia, that this is now a 2-game schedule, a 2-game season, he called it. I think that's a fair comment. It's a great way to look at it. I think you'll see a different football team out there, the same football team that we saw in Atlanta, but I think you'll see a continuation of that.
X.
Yeah, Ryan, when you look at what Alabama has to do today, what do you think the biggest keys of the game are to beating Cincinnati?
I know a lot of people are going to focus on the skill position guys, and you're going to point out, All-Americans in the secondary for Cincinnati. But, when I look at this game, I always have a hard time looking beyond the line of scrimmage. It's just the way that I watch football, the way that I kind of take it in from my perspective is just it's the line of scrimmage. If you can win the line of scrimmage and you can dominate in the trenches, I think chances are you're going to win the game. I think Alabama's got a chance. The defensive front with their defense has been talked about with 3-3-5, but it's even when you look at those 3 down linemen, it's not like they're plugging a lot of holes. I mean, I think I looked at their biggest defensive lineman. He's somewhere around 280. I would hope that Alabama would be able to dominate the line of scrimmage. The offensive line is probably going to be a little bit better when you look at it than I think their defensive line is for the Bearcats. So when I look at this line of scrimmage, I think it's very winnable there, and I think everything else will take care of itself. You keep Bryce Young upright, he will find time. Listen, Deion Sanders can only cover so long. And I think when you look at these wide receivers, they'll find ways. They'll find ways. And I'm looking for some young guys to step out in that wide receiver roles now because they've had 3 weeks to prepare. And we can focus in on practice time when Alabama started, but a quarterback and a wide receiver can get synced up off practice time. So I'm sure those guys have put in the work to make sure they're going to fill the John Mechie. But I'm also going to go on a limb here. I'm going to say Billingsley is going to have a really solid game. I just something about that tight end, and maybe it's Stammerla too, but I think there's some money to be made there, and I think Alabama finds a way to do it.
When you look at this game, there's the potential for several injured players to return. Jalen Armour-Davis, Christian Allen, but we also heard JoJo Earle potential return. How big a deal would that be with the loss of Mechie? Could he potentially be a guy that gives you some of what Mechie gave you?
Well, and I've been hearing JoJo Earle. Let's go back to the Georgia week. Nick Saban kept talking about that he was working his way back. He was working his way back to possibly be able to give Alabama something. Now, we didn't see him in the Georgia game. But just think about if he was able to work his way back in, got some practice reps. This week, Nick Saban said it was going to be a game time decision. But I heard last week that he was doing some things, on the practice field that kind of allowed Alabama to believe that he may be able to make a role. Now, not just for the wide receiver side, but I think he's a difference maker when we talk about in the return game. So that's a part of the element that you really get excited about with JoJo Earle. And just hated for him that he went down. I thought he was really taking some steps. But really, if you look at the wide receiver room, there's just not been a lot of areas that you could win in there because you've got Bolden, you've got John Mechie, you've got Jamison Williams. So it's like if you're a young wide receiver, there's not a lot of opportunities there for playing time. And so now there is. And I imagine that the last couple of weeks have been a pretty big competition of who's going to step out, really take that step, not just for this game and possibly if they win one more, but who takes control that wide receiver room in the future. Which freshman steps up, I think, is going to be the big question coming out of this game.
Yeah, and talking about other guys that have been battling back from injuries, of course, we know Brian Robinson got hurt against Auburn, and he was able to go out and give a good effort against Georgia. Now, this Cincinnati defense is known for their pass defense, but their run defense is a little bit lackluster. So with Brian being back closer to 100%, how big of a game do you think he can have today?
Well, I think you almost got to go back and salute Brian Robinson for a couple of minutes because think about the Warrior mentality. Because I can tell you, he did not practice very little in that game, as far as practice that week. I mean, I know for a fact that he didn't touch a ball for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And then when he gets out there, you look back at going Thursday with some mental reps, and then he was able to do what he did. I mean, I don't know if enough has been said about the Warrior mentality that he went out there with because he was nowhere near 100%. But the way that he carried himself, the way that he, was able to, and it's kind of hard to complain. So if you've got some nicks and bruises like most people do at this time of the year, it's kind of hard to complain when, you're starting running back, is out there taking on that front, picking up the pressure, keeping his quarterback upright. That's a pretty big achievement for Brian Robinson. I tell you what, he showed me something for all of his time in Tuscaloosa, but that one there should be recognized just as that Warrior mentality of just kind of sucking it up, given whatever percentage he had as far as healthy. And Brian Robinson, I think this is maybe one of those games that you get a chance to salute him with a smaller front. You would almost think that this might be a game that he could really come out of his, just have a great game, I guess, when you look at it.
Yeah, I would like to see Brian get in that 150-plus range. Today, it's so weird for me, Ryan. I'm usually the day before the game, but I have to keep reminding myself it is game day. I know you're going to have to get out of here in a few minutes, so I got a couple other questions and ask one for you as well. But Bama, just make sure you let me know when you need to run. So, but Bama.
I've probably got maybe like one more minute, and then
okay.
I'll be out.
All right. Well, here's Bama. What's your biggest concern? Two-part question. Biggest concern going into this game, and since he wins, if
biggest concern,
yes,
it goes back to what we said just a couple of seconds ago, is what we're going to do. Is that a confirmation of Alabama? I mean, is that what they're going to be able to do, like they've done against, Georgia? Are we going to see that? Somebody at the airport just said that. I hope that didn't go off on the air. But somebody here.
I didn't hear anything.
Good. That was a little. Yes, I think they heard me saying that. Somebody walked by. Somebody I knew. But anyway, that's a lot of Alabama fans headed here.
Live radio, baby.
Live radio. I'm just glad you didn't hear what he said. He said Cincinnati was going to get beat. So he just put a new adjective there at the end. But just to go back, is I really just think that this Alabama team, my biggest question is which team will show up? Because as much as I say yes, this is the team, then I do have a couple of questions. If they'll be able to do that, and that's the number one question I have. If this team shows up and they play like they've done in the past, they're going to win the game, and they're going to win the game by a big margin. If they come out and struggle, then Saudi will take advantage of it. Yeah. So it depends, but everything that we hear, focus, is this Alabama football team, and I think we're going to see that, coming out at 2:30.
What's your prediction?
I got 42-21. I think Alabama's going to win by pretty good margin.
So you got them showing up like they did in Atlanta. All right.
I do. Listen, when Will Anderson comes out and says that we're under disrespected, and I think some of that was probably individually, but he's going to wrap it in a team, and he's going to put it in that team side. So just kind of chew on that for a little bit. Will Anderson disrespected, and he plays with a different motor. Good luck, guys.
Terminator, what version they on? 6, 7, whatever. Just add, if they're on Terminator 6, he'll come out as Terminator edition number 7 today. So thanks, Ryan, man. I appreciate you joining us. And now I just need to ask you, how you getting to Dallas on game day? Oh.
Well, I'm going to use a lot of favors, so that's what I'm doing right now.
Hey, just so y'all know, Ryan is pulling off in his own personal Learjet today, headed out to Dallas. It's all right. Hey, Ryan, we all can't roll like you, man. We roll with the tide, but you literally roll with the tide. No, just kidding.
The pilot said he was waiting on me, so I got to go. Y'all be good. Roll
be
tide.
good. Roll tide.
Have a good one, Ryan.
All right, that's Ryan Fowler. Pray for safe travel for him and all of the Bama fans that are making that trek out to Dallas via airwaves, highways, and byways, that they all arrive safely there and back, and hopefully come back after a big victory by the Crimson Tide. Hey, you're listening to the Martin Houston Show College Football Playoff Semifinal Special with Xavier Houston. We'll come back. Phone lines are open for the entirety, even when we have a guest, but the next segment will give you a moment to talk, and then we'll be adding DC Capstone Report joining us at 7:30, and then we'll have Jacob Harrison join us later on in the program as well. We'll continue the conversation right here on the Martin Houston Show College Football Playoff Special.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
From the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center this New Year's Eve morning, we have a crash on 2059 westbound at exit 32 in Bowling, closing the interstate. And the National Weather Service has issued a dense fog advisory, so please be careful. The sales department is open today, regular hours at Townsend Nissan, where you can take advantage of year-end savings. They'll be closed tomorrow. Don't miss it. I'm Captain Ray.
Work is a part of all of us. We know that the world around us has changed, and that's why the Alabama Department of Labor is here to get you back to working hard. Work is a part of all of us. Let us help you get back to it by visiting your local career center or alabamaworks.alabama.gov. Funding provided by the USPOL, ETA, and Federal WIOA and Equal Opportunity Employer Program. Auxiliary aids and services available upon request. Brought to you by this station and the Alabama Broadcasters Association.
Tuscaloosa Tire and Service, they've got the big brands you know and trust. Goodyear, Firestone, Bridgestone, Cooper, and they can finance for you as well. When you need routine maintenance and alignment, a tune-up, whatever it is, belts, hoses, just basic stuff, or when you don't know what's wrong with your car, truck, or SUV, make it Tuscaloosa Tire and Service. They're dependable, they're trustworthy. That's why they've lasted for over 36 years. Skyland Boulevard, McFarland Boulevard East in Northport on Lurleen Wallace Boulevard. Check out the website, TuscaloosaTireandService.com.
Don't miss a play at the Sportsbook at Pearl River Resort. Your front row seat to all the action. Place bets on all professional and most college sports at the counter, kiosk, or on your phone. Then catch the game on one of our 20 big screens from the comfort of the newly remodeled Timeout Lounge. Plus, the PRR Sports app gives you access to live, in-play sports betting. Sportsbook at Pearl River Resort. Be more than a fan. Be a player. Must be 21.
Get in zone, Autozone.
Welcome to Autozone. What are you working on today? With nights getting longer, it might be time to refresh your headlights. You'll see better and drive safer. Why not try Sylvania Silver Star Ultra Bulbs? They have the furthest down road light, and right now you can get a $10 AutoZone gift card by mail or email when you buy two. Visit one of our 6,000 stores or order from AutoZone.com for same-day store pickup or free next-day delivery.
Get in zone, Autozone.
Restrictions apply. Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
Getting out to a foggy start, I think, this morning, so be careful with a few showers. For your celebration.
You run that back one more time. One more time. I want you to hear it one more time.
Tell me about, and then what did you tell me about hitting the quarterback? What is it?
It brings me great joy.
Ooh. Good luck out there, everybody.
I'm telling you, y'all. I'm telling you. I'm gonna go Southern on y'all. I'm telling y'all, that man is going to be a Terminator. I'm telling you, I'm looking forward to seeing him get out there. I think he is going to have one of his best games ever. That was Will Anderson. When speaking with Holly Rowe, and she, like I said, she asked him, "Tell me what it is about how you feel when you hit the quarterback." He said, "It brings me great joy." Roll Tide, everybody. And I'm telling you, Will Anderson, I think, is going to be ready to play without a doubt. That was great catching up with Ryan Fowler of the game. Ryan Fowler, a regular voice that you hear each and every day right here on Tide 100.9 from 2 to 6. He and I do Alabama Tradition as well, and we've been doing this thing together for a while. Glad to catch up with him this morning. But let's bring in Robert from Mobile. Robert, you're in with the Martin Houston Show, the college football playoff special with Martin and Xavier. What's on your mind, sir?
Hey, guys.
Hey, now.
It's really weird to listen to you this time of day. I almost forgot that we were going to be on.
Well, glad to be on. Glad you remembered, man.
Hey, I'd say Will Anderson is Terminator 3. The first two are outstanding classics. After 2, yeah. So he Terminator 3.
Hey, he's going to be like this current Spider-Man movie.
There you go. Revitalize the franchise.
That's right.
It's kind of weird listening to you interview Ryan. I think it was the first time I ever heard you actually interview him. It's kind of like reverse. He's such a natural interviewer.
Yep.
And you always have the expert. You don't use all the expertise. It's kind of like, didn't you ask you these questions?
And it's always fun when I get to do that. It's been a while. I used to sit in on his show a lot more in the afternoon. But and so he would always call in, and it was so weird, Robert. I would be interviewing him on his show. So, but I love to pick Ryan's brain, and he does a great job.
I probably try the game the same way Ryan does. Like, Cincinnati it's fun and all, but Alabama's going to show you that you really don't belong. I think if the playoff with 12 teams already, I don't believe Cincinnati would be one of the final 14. I think they would have gotten beaten. They would have gotten beaten before the it involved some of the other teams before the 12-team playoff.
You're saying if they had played, if they had played in any of the other conferences?
No, we've expanded the playoff to 12 teams.
Oh, okay, I see what you're saying.
To play some of the
they would have. I agree. I think that they always have a chance because there's we've been off for a month. It's a one game thing, and I can recover. But if, like you say, if you're having to play back to back to back, week in and week out, or in a true playoff scenario, I don't think they make this run either. And I'm gonna tell you, there's two things. There's a false narrative that has given Cincinnati hope. Cincy hope, and to me, number one is they keep talking about them playing Georgia last year. Who cares? Great that you played Georgia last year. That was a different Georgia team. That was a different Cincy team. And it was a bowl game, and it wasn't for all the marbles. And number two, they keep talking about playing Notre Dame this year, Robert. Notre Dame's record. Notre Dame is the number 5 team in the country. Their record against their opponents is 40-something%. I think it was, last time I saw it, their opponents had won less than 50% of their games.
Mm-hmm.
They had the absolute worst records, Notre Dame did, in the country. Shouldn't be the number 5 team in the country, other than the fact that they get it because their record is 11-1, and their name is Notre Dame.
And the second worst when it comes to opponent record was Cincinnati.
So there you go.
Yeah, the Notre Dame was also another one who I think would have got knocked out of the playoff really early too.
That's right. That's right.
It was the expanded playoff. That's which why I'm always for the expanded playoff, with concessions and doing things and maybe paying players, that kind of stuff. But I think it fixes all these things. I look at Cincinnati, but that quarterback's going to need 100 yards rushing. He's going to have to rush for 100 yards plus to have a chance in this game against Alabama. If he doesn't do that, it's going to be over quick.
I agree. So, who you got, man? I mean, what you got? I know.
The score. Yeah, but I think it's around something ridiculous. I'm going to keep it. I think it's on like 52-17, something like that.
You said what? 50?
Yeah, 52-17. I was maybe a little high because I think Alabama's going to run the ball down their throat, which will slow down our scoring ability. But I'm going to still stick with it anyway for like 52-17, something like that, around that neighborhood.
All right.
We're just going to run the ball. I think we're going to run the ball right over.
I do too. Thanks, Robert. Appreciate you, sir.
Thank you.
All right. Hey, let's go to Gary from Indiana. Gary, how you doing here in the Martin Houston Show? What's on your mind, sir?
Hey, Martin, how you doing? It's actually Gary from Ohio.
Ohio. Okay. Ohio. Oh, hey, listen, you've been keeping us in the loop up there, man. So we definitely don't want to disrespect that. So how things up that way?
I think Alabama's going to be ready today. I think they're going to play like their hair on fire. And I don't like Robert said. I picked 48-17, but I look for Alabama to get in the 50s. I mean, I just think I'll tell you what I think. I mean, like you said, I think speed's going to wear them down. And then I think the other thing, I was listening to Nick on his show, and I'm impressed. I get excited about Joe Pinsky work with that offensive line directly, not indirectly. I guess they said the Georgia game, he kind of worked with them indirectly, but I guess this week, for this game, he worked with them directly. And Nick said that the kids loved him.
Yeah. Well, he actually, when you say indirectly, he's around all the time. He's never left.
Right.
He even in the Georgia game was a more active role, even though it was indirect. It was active. if that makes sense. He wasn't necessarily just, you know how you sometimes, Gary, you say, well, you know, you want to teach your kids something, so you say, hey, if I were you, I would do this, you know, so you want them to learn, and then the next time you come to them and say, hey, this is what you need to do. This is how you're gonna win. This is how you're gonna be successful. A little more direct. That's what we got from Georgia, and I think we got even more of that. Plus, he was physically able to be out there with them and help this time. So I think you're going to see an O-line that just picks up where it left off.
Yeah, I think I could just see Pinscher out there talking about, boy, you can't bust a great playing like that. What's your problem? And just look at him and laugh. You know, like, you know what I'm saying? You know, he had a lot of sayings they never heard, and they just
he's
bust out laughing, and then they just come with a harder effort.
Yep.
All right, that's better.
That's right. And he's an old school. He's old school, but he knows his O-line. So
yeah, Nick the kids just loved him. Nick sounded like he was excited about having Joe out there, and he said, you know, you can't say enough about somebody who, you know, just gets up their holiday to come out and help.
That's right.
So you got to think those kids, they lived off every word, and that's the game. It's in the offensive line and the defensive line. And I bet he had them invigorated. In fact, I wish, they've had, I think, Ron has had Joe Pinscher on.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to see Ron get Pinscher on after the season to see what he has to say about him. Because the future is going to be, the big next year is going to be all these young kids. Are we going to play them, and how are we going to play them? Because it's going to be, we're going to start off with somewhat inexperienced line next year. And Pinscher, you got to believe he was there looking at assessing the younger guys as well as getting the ones ready to go to play. So
absolutely. Well,
I'm looking forward to it.
All right. Well, thanks, Gary. We appreciate you, man. 48-17 is what you got, right? But
48-17. But I look forward to getting. You know how we play like 4 speed? We just go at 44-7.
Yeah.
To get a couple of them scores, and then I look forward to 50.
All right. Thanks.
He'll shut it down.
Thanks, Gary. Appreciate your roll tide, man.
All right. Well, Happy New Year to everybody, and God bless.
Happy New Year to you and yours up in Ohio. Coming back on the other side, we'll add DC Capstone report to the conversation right here on Tide 100.9, the Martin Houston Show College Football Playoff Semifinal Special.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
From the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center this New Year's Eve morning, we have a crash on 2059 westbound at exit 32 in Bowling, closing the interstate, and the National Weather Service has issued a dense fog advisory, so please be careful. The sales department is open today, regular hours at Townsend Nissan, where you can take advantage of year-end savings. They'll be closed tomorrow. Don't miss it. I'm Captain Ray.
With the new law, more people qualify for financial assistance at healthcare.gov. Real customers like Taylor.
You know, I wish people knew how easy it was to get health coverage. This new law has made it so affordable. I'm only paying $52 a month, but there are quality plans for even less.
New law, lower prices, more people qualify. Enroll by January 15th at healthcare.gov.
Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. In a collision, easy decision. One name, one firm, one call. Mesrano.
I made that one call to Mesrano after being hit by an 18-wheeler. He got me $875,000.
I made that one call to Mesrano after being T-boned on McFarland. He got me $125,000.
I made that one call to Mesrano after my fender bender. He got me $50,000.
One call, one firm. Mesrano. No representations made the quality of legal services to be performed. Case greater than quality of legal services performed by other lawyers.
The perfect place to make your escape. Golden Moon offers 600 finely appointed rooms with incredible views. Take a dip in our Vegas-style infinity pool, complete with a full-service bar and cabana. Experience the South's premier golf destination at Dancing Rabbit Golf Club, or catch the biggest sporting events at Time Out Lounge. So what are you waiting for? Come see us in Choctaw, Mississippi. Golden Moon Hotel and Casino, a Pearl River Resort property.
Hear ye. Thanks for coming to the town square. First, I'd like to tell you about Steve. He's a plumber. I hear he does good work. Also, Tim. He's this new thing called a dentist. Oh, and Monica, she has a new vegan restaurant. I didn't even know that was a thing yet. Anyway, if you need those things, just wander around town and try to find them because the internet hasn't been invented yet, so I don't know.
Well, this isn't the olden days. Now word of mouth has gone online. At Town Square Tuscaloosa, we can show you how to harness the power of your existing word of mouth and amplify it online. Go to townsquarelocal.com for a free local customer analysis, where you can see how many local customers in Tuscaloosa you can reach online. Visit townsquarelocal.com and be the Town Square today. That's townsquarelocal.com for a free local customer analysis, where you can see how many local customers in Tuscaloosa you could be reaching online. Visit townsquarelocal.com today and be the Town Square.
The free Autozone Fix Finder service can help troubleshoot the likely cause of your pesky check engine light for free and get you back on the road. Restrictions apply. Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
Getting out to a foggy start out there this morning, so be careful. Expect a few showers and maybe a thunderstorm today. The afternoon high near 74. For your celebrations tonight, it'll be breezy and warm with a chance for shower and a low of 65. Showers and thunderstorms will be likely on Saturday. Severe weather again possible with a high of 70. I'm meteorologist Bill Murray on Tide 100.9.
It's 63 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
Welcome back to the Martin Houston Show, the sound of Bama sports. Your show, your team, on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Welcome back into the Martin Houston Show. It's a college football playoff semifinals special hosted by Martin Houston and Xavier Houston. We got great guests coming in all morning long, but we also have the phone lines. The Taco Casa hotline is open for business, 205-342-9904, 205-342-9904. The Taco Casa hotline is open for business. Good morning, DC. How you doing, sir?
Doing great, Mark. How are you this morning? Morning, Xavier.
Good morning. How are you doing?
We're all doing well. Hey, I like to try to bring in some comments from earlier in the program from the listeners who tune in via chat. Curtis Moore, we were talking earlier about big-time plays with Ryan Fowler, DC, and he talked about that tackle by Jordan Battle. And I think Curtis Moore probably sums it up best. He says, the Jordan Battle tackle out of bounds is pretty close to the Mount Cody block field goal in reference to saving an Alabama season. Thoughts on that? I would say pretty close. I would say it's probably even closer or even bigger, because we had a whole year to come back from Tennessee. We didn't have another game after the Auburn game.
That's exactly right. I think it's probably the biggest in Alabama history. I think we talked about that. We discussed it, Martin, on your show right after the game.
Yeah.
It's probably lost on everybody is those extra seconds. Those extra seconds made the difference. And Jordan Battle's play was heads up. And he doesn't make that play haphazardly either. That was something that he was taught, and something he was reminded before he went out on the field. And that was something he executed.
Yeah.
And so I think that's a good thing to see when you start. I think we started gelling at the end of that Auburn game, and I believe then it got real. Like, you heard in a situation and everything, you understand everything until it starts getting real, and then you have to fall back on what you know to be true.
Yeah.
And I think the whole team kind of came together. That's what I'm excited about. Where we are at this point is the whole team came together there and said, okay, we relied on our fundamentals during that last drive, and that's what everybody's been telling us, and it's real. If we're going to win this season, we're going to win a championship. This is what we got to do. And I believe they fell back on it there, and then I believe it came out from the get-go against Georgia in that same mind frame. And from what I'm hearing from Will Anderson Jr., it seems like he's got everybody in the same mind frame going into this game.
Yeah, that when your best player feels disrespected and can motivate everybody else to get on that boat with them, it bodes well for Alabama. Anthony McDuffie said, and I'd like to get your thoughts on this comment, DC. He said, it's going to be a lot closer game than everyone is thinking. We're going to get their best shot. but then he transitions a little bit, but he sort of. So if we can put up 21 in the first quarter, game over. If we don't, it's going to be a 60-minute fight. Thoughts on that comment?
Well, I think he says what we've all been saying. I don't agree that it's going to be a close game. But if they hold us to no points in the first quarter, then definitely. The longer we let Cincinnati hang around in this game, the more chance Cincinnati has. But if we go out and execute the way I think we can on offense and play the way I believe we're going to play on defense, then I think Alabama puts up big points in the first quarter. The game's over early. I have Alabama winning big, as you know, and so I think that's where it's going to go. And I don't think I'm just thinking that because of where we are. I think there's a lot of history to this. You give Nick Saban this long of a time to prepare. History shows us that in games like this, except for the Ohio State game, and in that game, Alabama had a big lead. Except for the Ohio State game, we have pretty much dominated our opponent coming out in this college football semifinal game.
And we dominated our opponent in that game up until we got cute. And I think if we keep running Derrick Henry, we're looking at another championship in that game. We got cute. Kiffin was known to get cute, and he did. So.
I think opportunities. There's a lot of plays offensively on the field for Alabama in this game. Watching film, and I know that they've studied the film much better than me. But I'm excited about Pendry working with the offensive line. The little bit that he did for the Georgia game showed a marked improvement. But in this game, him being given more opportunity to work with the players, the players saw what happened in the Georgia game, just executing a few of the things that he told. That's why you hear Nick Saban saying the players love it. Well, players love it because players love success. Players are tired of being talked about. Players love to be able to be successful on the field. So, hey, they take work in the Georgia game. I want to listen to this guy and see what I can do to this game. And I think the other side of that is I believe when our offensive line goes against their defensive line, now I know there's a lot of hype about their defense, but I believe that our offensive line is going to see after the first couple of series that the defensive line is not the big defensive line that they've had to block in the SEC in some of these games. And I believe we're going to open up some holes for running. I look for our running game, Robinson, to have a big game in this game. So I think there's a lot of plays to be made on the offensive side. And I know they have a great secondary, small Americans in it. I don't believe that they have a secondary that can keep up with James Williams' speed in this game. I feel like we can exploit them on defense.
Yeah, when you're looking at the offense, of course, losing John Mechie's huge, leading receivers term as far as catches go. But we've heard a lot from Nick Saban and others on the offensive side of the ball about all of these sophomores and freshmen stepping up for Mechie. Who do you think is going to be that guy today?
Well, I kind of look for Tayshawn Holden to be the guy. I know a lot of folks talk about Ja'Cory Brooks. Is Javon Baker going to step up? Ajay Hall? And anybody could do it. But it seems to me like Tayshawn Holden is a guy that possession receiver, running routes, does a good job of getting open in space. And I think that he's the guy that can really make a difference. If they're keyed in on James Williams, like I think they're going to try to do to stop him, I think Tayshawn Holden has a big day, and I think we have a big day out of our tight end. I wouldn't be surprised to see Billingsley and Latu running wide open, especially in this 3-3 defense that they're going to play. Somebody's going to be running wide open in space in the zone, and I would put it past either Holden or Billingsley or Latu to have big games.
And that,
go ahead.
And when you're talking about the defensive side of the ball, of course, everybody talks about Will Anderson Jr. He's the face of Alabama football, in my opinion, even though Bryce is the Heisman Trophy winner. Who outside of Will do you think needs to have a big game to stop a Cincinnati offense that is explosive and has a lot of weapons on the outside?
I think Chris Harris has to have a big game in this game. I believe he is going to be key to keeping Desmond Ridder not to be able to extend plays on third down, not to beat us with his legs. I think Desmond Ridder's got to have over 100 yards for Cincinnati to be even in the game. So I think Christian Harris being able to spy on him and Toa when he's in there as the lone, if they go to a dime package and he's in there as the lone linebacker. I still think that Christian Harris has a big game in this game. He's got the speed, and if he can continue to improve the way he has been improving, I've seen improvement over this year. I think he can have a big game defensively, and I think we'll need that to keep Ritter in the pocket and keep him from scoring us with the leg.
We're speaking with, DC Capstone Report. He's going to be on with us up until 8 o'clock, so we're going to get the break here. If you have a question for DC and you want to put it in on chat, you can do that, or you can call us at 205-342-9904. The phone lines are open for you to speak with our guest or with the host, so please do so. 205-342-9904. The Taco Casa hotline is open for business. As we go to break, I want to remind you about Alabama One. Alabama One together, they help make the Martin Houston show possible, and therefore today's college football semifinals playoff special available as well. That's Alabama One together. If you got big financial goals, then Alabama One is the one that can help you make your one thing a reality. That's alabama1.org. Alabama One together.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
From the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center this New Year's Eve morning, we have a crash on 2059 westbound at exit 32 in Bowling, closing the interstate. And the National Weather Service has issued a dense fog advisory, so please be careful. The sales department is open today, regular hours at Townsend Nissan, where you can take advantage of year-end savings. They'll be closed tomorrow. Don't miss it. I'm Captain Ray.
With Taco Casa, it's not really fast food because it's made fresh every day in the store. The quality hasn't changed. The consistency hasn't changed because we haven't changed anything in the food. It's made fresh every morning in every restaurant. I think buzzwords in today's food industry are locally sourced and high quality ingredients. We want to say, that sounds great. We've been doing that since 1974. Under the biggest cactus in town, Taco Casa.
If you're drowning in IRS debt and can't afford to pay, then you need to take advantage of special IRS tax programs that are available and free yourself from IRS collection efforts once and for all. Due to the financial hardship consumers are facing throughout the country, the Internal Revenue Service has made it easier to settle delinquent tax problems. An open phone line has been established by Community Tax for consumers to call and see if they qualify. Take down this number or store it in your cell phone, but call the Community Tax Helpline at 800-342-4301. If you owe back taxes to the IRS and cannot afford to pay them back, or even if you have years of unfiled tax returns, there's no need to fear anymore. But you have to call the Community Tax Helpline today at 800-342-4301 for the help that you need. Don't take on the IRS alone. They can attack your wages, savings, pension, home, and even your Social Security check. Call 800-342-4301 for your free consultation and to see if you qualify. That's 800-342-4301.
Tuscaloosa Tire and Service. They've got the big brands you know and trust: Goodyear, Firestone, Bridgestone, Cooper, and they can finance for you as well. When you need routine maintenance and alignment, a tune-up, whatever it is, belts, hoses, just basic stuff, or when you don't know what's wrong with your car, truck, or SUV, make it Tuscaloosa Tire and Service. They're dependable, they're trustworthy. That's why they've lasted for over 36 years. Skyland Boulevard, McFarland Boulevard East in Northport on Lurleen Wallace Boulevard. Check out the website, TuscaloosaTireandService.com.
Serving part-time in the Army National Guard has led to a lot of firsts for me. It paid for me to be the first person in my family to go to school. That education got me to the first day at my dream job, which I can still hold while I serve part-time. That job and the home loan benefits I got from the Army National Guard helped me buy my first house. I also know that I will be one of the first to respond if my community ever needs me.
Sponsored by the Alabama Army National Guard, aired by the Alabama Broadcasters Association and this station.
The flagship station for Alabama Crimson Tide sports, Tide 100.9, and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Welcome back into the Martin Houston Show, college football playoff semifinals special. We got DC Capstone Report hey man, I'm getting to talk on game day. I mean, I'm going to get off the air in a few minutes, be ready to go watch football. I'm not used to that. So exciting time. But hey, I want to remind you that this Sunday, if you're looking for a great place to worship, great place that will welcome you and make you feel right at home. You can come as you are. That is Harvest Church out in Coker, Alabama. HCTuscaloosa.com is where you can find it. That's Harvest Church. We'd love to have you. Services start at 10 a.m. If you want to get a little extra education, get a little pregame warm-up, Bible study starts at 9. We'd love to have you. Once again, that's Harvest Church in Coker, HCTuscaloosa.com. All right, DC, we're back in with you. As we were going to break there, I know we got Tom, so I'm going to get to him really quick, but I want to ask you one other quick question. You said Trayshawn Holden is your guy. How big a deal and potentially would JoJo Earl, a healthy JoJo Earl, be? I think he's more of a Mechie type receiver than Holden. How big a deal with having him back full speed and contributing, B?
Yeah, I think it would be a big deal. And the one thing we haven't talked about is the players that we might be able to get back, or
right,
back to full strength, like Jalen Armour Davis and JoJo Earl, possible Chris Allen. Having B-Rob back at full speed. I think all of that's are good. And yes, JoJo Earl would be a great compliment to the receiving core, and he might find him running open, especially if he's able to work him out of some of those slot receiving. While they're trying to cover James Williams on one side, he'll be wide open on the other side. He could really make a difference if he's back to full speed.
Absolutely. Let's go ahead and get Tom in. Tom, you're in with DC Capstone reporting on the college football playoff semifinal special on the Martin Houston Show. What's on your mind, sir?
Good morning, Mark. Good morning, DC. This is off the chart. Game day, and then Martin and DC on game day. I tell you what, if you want to light the fire of excitement, that's a good way to do it first thing.
Awesome.
But anyway, thanks for taking my call.
Oh, thanks for calling, man.
I've listened to everybody, and everybody talking and everything, and nobody talks about the quality of, or the lack of quality. That's not a good way to put it, but the defensive line for Cincinnati, and I just don't believe that they're up to stopping the run against Bama, and unless they come out there and confuse us with, shooting the gap and all that kind of stuff, which has given us problems in the past with some teams. And but for the most part, I just look for us to be able to run the ball, and if we do that, the passing game it'll be unstoppable, and that's the way I see this game going. I look for us to come out there and B-Rob just have a huge day running the ball.
I agree with you 100%, Tom. I think this could be Brian Robinson's big game of the year. I think it set up well for our offensive line to really be able to make some holes against the defensive front. I don't think that this offensive line has seen I think they're undersized. I mean, they got great athleticism and quickness, but I think they're undersized. And if we can get the blocking and the gaps and the holes in the right place, I think we will. B-Rob has a big day. And what that does in this defense now is if we start penetrating and opening big holes and moving, it's going to cause somebody from that back end to have to come up and help try to stop the run. And then that opens the play action passes with Jameson Williams one-on-one, or, as I said before, one of those other guys, Trayshawn Holden or one of the tight ends, Billingsley are the two running wide open. So I look for us to have a big game running the ball and then set up a big game passing the ball.
Yeah, and I would go ahead, Tom.
If they start walking one of their safeties down, they're in real trouble. Because as good as their corners on their defense is, I'm sorry, Martin,
No, go ahead.
To cut you off.
You're fine.
But I just don't see the quality of safety play on their defense. It doesn't match the quality of the corners. I'll give them the corners are really good ball players. But if one of their safeties have to start walking down, they're in huge trouble.
Well, one of the questions I would ask that I don't know the answer to because we haven't seen it, and people have compared Notre Dame as the one that's going to be most like Alabama, but we've seen what Notre Dame looks like when they go against And when they make it to this level in college football playoffs, Notre Dame has gotten beat by an average of like 4 scores in the playoffs. So they don't really match up to the division. That's why a man leaves his team that's made it to the playoffs, sitting number 5 in the country, and goes to another school because he knows that, hey, we can beat the teams we play, but we can't beat the elite teams. And so what I would ask, Tom, when I look at it is, are those corners good? They're talented, yes. But how much of that is because Cincy and the teams they played against with that aggressive 3-3 stack, walking a defensive lineman down, an outside linebacker down to be the fourth defensive lineman, and then bringing a DB in to blitz, so you have a 7-man front. How much of that is they were able to get penetration, get pressure, and cause confusion? And then that for, hey, listen, Langham, great DB, Hall of Fame DB because of Copeland and Curry. So how much have they been able to create chaos on the back end? And I think that's what, if we're able to play strong up front, those DBs are going to be in for a shock having to run with Williams more than 3 seconds.
Yeah, you're right. He's a legit game breaker. And I was saying, about the safeties. If they can't hang with Williamson, those safeties sure can't, from what I've seen. But now I'm no expert, but that's just kind of the way I was seeing. I want to get y'all's take on it, and that's interesting, Martin. Thanks for taking my call. Y'all have a great day.
Thank you, sir.
I think to
Go ahead,
add
DC.
one more thing to that, Martin, and I know this is tedious when you start looking at the film and everything, but if you really look at it, James Williams is really, really, really good one-on-one. Speed-wise, it's hard to cover, and I think what I've seen is, what's the old saying, Martin? If we're even, I'm leaving.
Even, I'm leaving. That's right, baby.
Here's what I think it is with James Williams. What I've seen on this play that 3-3-3 stack is that those cornerbacks are good, but they have a tendency. If you watch them in this game, they have a tendency to be looking in the backfield. And what's happened is that's because they're trying to help on that side, that sweep side. They're responsible for that sweep side as well as that receiver. And so I like to change it to, if you're looking, I'm booking, because I think that's what's going to happen in this game. You're going to find their eyes in the backfield, and James Williams already passed them on a look.
Yeah, in DC, I'm not going to get into this, but we will get into it a little more. I call it the 3S strategy for Bama, and it's the 3 things a coach really can't coach and you can't manufacture. It has to be about the players, and that's speed, size, and savage. That savage, I said salvage, savage mentality. And I think when you look at those 3, I think those are going to be the 3 keys to victory for whichever team has the advantage in those 3. And I think we know which one that's going to be. DC, as you're welcome to stay on longer if you want to, but I want to give you a chance to give your closing thoughts and what you see happening in this game.
Yeah, I appreciate the invitation. I need to get out of here and let somebody else get on. But look, I appreciate you having me on this morning, because it's great to be on game day. And it's great for us to be able to put it. I got Alabama and big in this game. I think it's going to play out like this. I think on offense, we're going to take advantage of the run. We're going to run the ball and set up the pass. We're going to see some good play action passes. And we're going to see some Alabama players running wide open in this secondary. I think our line gets the blocking done. And on defense, I think we're going to really disrupt the quarterback. The key is going to be being able to keep him in the pocket and not allow him to extend plays with his legs. If we can do that, if we keep him in the pocket and we stop the run, we hadn't talked about Jerome Ford. He's a great back, but if we can stop their running game and make him have to pass, I believe Desmond Ritter has 8 interceptions this year. He has at least 2 in one game that I know of. I believe if he's make him pass and make him throw into tight spaces, I don't think he has the arm strength or the accuracy to be able to do that against Alabama's secondary. And I think we're going to get some turnovers. If we get some turnovers in this game and play the way we think we will, I believe it's going to be a big wide open score 21 in the first quarter and be over early. I got Alabama winning 45-24.
45-24. All right, that's DC Capstone Report. DC, tell them real quick where they can find you on normal weeks.
Yeah, they can catch me every week on DCCapstoneReport.com, DC Capstone Report Facebook page. They can follow me on Twitter at DavidCott50. Also, I appear all the time courtesy of Lance Shores. Lance's other sites, RollTideBama.com and FreelancePictures.com. He's got great Alabama football content on his site you need to check out. So thanks again for having me on with you and Xavier. It's been a great day to be on game day.
Thank you, sir. That's DC Capstone Report. He's a regular guest on the Martin Houston Show every Tuesday from 6:15 to 7. And we're live all day, every day, Monday through Friday from 6 to 7. Getting to do a special college football playoff, semifinal playoff special today from 7 to 9:30. Stay tuned. We got more great conversation coming up. Phone lines are always open. Taco Casa hotline at 205-342-9904.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
From the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center, we got a bad wreck, 2059 westbound at exit 32 in Bowie. It's closed the interstate. Use an alternate route. Rain and fog is reducing visibility, so please slow down and be careful. The sales department is open today at Townsend Nissan, regular hours, so you can take advantage of year-end savings. They'll be closed tomorrow. I'm Captain Ray.
The Alabama Securities Commission protects you from financial fraud. Anyone asking you for investment money must be licensed. You're careful with your money. Fraudsters aren't. Before you invest, call our hotline at 1-800-222-1253 to verify the licensing of the person making an offer and the product. Don't lose your hard-earned money. Learn to protect yourself at asc.alabama.gov. Paid for by the Investor Protection Trust and brought to you by the Alabama Broadcasters Association and this station.
We're planning a trip to Spain later this year.
But our Spanish
is pretty bad. So we're using Babbel.
Babbel's conversation-based method teaches you real-life words and phrases. And with Babbel's interactive, bite-sized lessons, you'll remember what you learned.
There's no easier way to learn another language.
Ahora hablamos español.
He just said, now we speak Spanish.
Babbel, language for life. Now try Babbel for free. Just go to Babbel.com. That's Babbel.com.
In a collision, easy decision. One name, one firm, one call. Mesrano.
I made that one call to Mesrano after being hit by an 18-wheeler. He got me $875,000.
I made that one call to Mesrano after being T-boned on McFarland. He got me $125,000.
I made that one call to Mesrano after my fender bender. He got me $50,000.
One call, one firm. Mesrano. No representations made that quality legal services to be performed. Is greater than quality legal services performed by other law.
Don't miss a play at the Sportsbook at Pearl River Resort. Your front row seat to all the action. Place bets on all professional and most college sports at the counter, kiosk, or on your phone. Then catch the game on one of our 20 big screens from the comfort of the newly remodeled Timeout Lounge. Plus, the PRR Sports app gives you access to live, in-play sports betting. Sportsbook at Pearl River Resort. Be more than a fan. Be a player. Must be 21.
Susan, it's so great to finally be able to get together again.
Oh, it sure is. And I really appreciate you picking up the bill.
I'm happy to. I've got the extra cash. Since we've all been driving so much more again, I've been using Get Upside, the free gas app that pays you cash back for every gallon of gas you buy.
Wait a minute. Are you saying you actually get paid cash when you buy gas with the Get Upside app?
Yes, up to 25 cents a gallon. Cash back every time I buy gas.
Does that actually add up to anything?
Some months I make $200 to $300.
Wow, that's serious extra cash. I'm downloading the free Get Upside app now.
Download the free Get Upside app now in the App Store or Google Play to save up to 25 cents a gallon when you buy gas. Use promo code PHIL for a 25 cents a gallon bonus on your first tank. That's up to 50 cents a gallon on your next fill-up. You can cash out anytime to PayPal or an e-gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Get Upside app and use promo code PHIL for a 25 cents a gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code PHIL.
WTUG HD2 Northport and W265CG. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app. A Town Square media station.
Alabama 1st and 10 on the 12. Again, Houston. He's got a hole. He's over. Alabama touchdown.
I'm just wondering if your listeners know how good a football player you were. I can still see you playing that fullback, knocking those players out of the way. And I believe I could have run behind you.
Martin, I can remember
and he came to summer, and you was playing quarterback up there. And I saw you in the weight room and watched you work out in the weight room. And you could pick up, you was strong enough to pick up the whole weight room. I wanted to fix it, and I learned that coach didn't take it. Biggest mistake we ever made.
The Martin Houston Show with national championship winning fullback Martin Houston, giving you 1 hour of intense, hard-hitting analysis. From an insider's perspective, it's time for the Martin Houston Show on your home for Alabama sports, Tide 100.9, and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Welcome back into the Martin Houston Show. If you're just now tuning in, you may be going, this is normally when Inside the Locker Room is on. Well, we have a college football playoff semifinal special, Martin Houston Show, hosted by Martin Houston and Xavier Houston. We've had two great guests so far, Ron Fowler of The Game, 2 to 6 every Monday through Friday. Also co-host Alabama Tradition with me on Tuesday nights at 6. Also, we had DC Capstone Report. You can find him at dccapstonereport.com, and he is he is on with me every Tuesday on the Martin Houston Show, pretty much the entire show from 6:15 to 7 on Tuesdays. So glad to have those guys on. Coming up at 8:30, we will have Jacob Harrison, Off the Edge, which airs from 11 to 12 right here on your home for Alabama sports, the home for Alabama sports, Tide 100.9. And hey, listen, when I go off there, the coverage doesn't end there. We'll have the tailgate show, pregame show from 9:30 to 11:30. So looking forward to that being a part of the program. And then we'll also have, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mason, we're going to actually have some guys broadcasting the coverage for the game today. Sean Kelly, Barrett Jones, and Ian Fitzsimmons will be on the call. Of course, that's two Bama guys. So all day long it's going to be Bama. Now, if you're listening on the app, that will actually be the ESPN radio call. So if you tune in to Tide 109, and on the airways, you'll get to hear Sean Kelly, Barrett Jones, and Ian Fitzsimmons. And if you're on the app, it'll be the ESPN radio call. But either way, you're going to be able to hear Bama game all day long. And then, of course, we'll wrap things up at the end of the show, after post-game show with Kerry Clark and Jacob Harrison. They'll pick things up around 8 o'clock-ish based on how the game and timing and all that plays out. So, all right. Mason, did I get it all?
I believe you hit it all, Mark.
All right. Well, hey, listen, it's so much fun to be on game day, and I appreciate you being on with me and making this possible. Anytime we get to talk Bama sports for an extended period of time, always a fun time. And so we are going to get into some conversation, but we love to make this about the callers and the listeners and the viewers and the chatters. Timothy Lent saying, listening live from the shadows of Lambeau Field, Roll Tide from the original title town, 37-24 Tide. I mean, wow, that's awesome to see the reach that we're able to have. And speaking of that reach, we got Chuck Hunt from Louisiana, a regular part of the Martin Houston Show. Good morning, Chuck. How you doing, sir?
Hello. How's everyone doing? A really happy New Year to you all, and on this game day. And
same to you.
This great game day. Just people take precautions and take care of you.
Absolutely.
By the way, I have friends in media and sports media that are in Dallas right now covering the game. And by the way, I talked to Gary Harris on the phone. I called his show the other day. I met him back in 2018 when I came over for the Alabama Mississippi State game, and a great guy. And I told him, I said, Brother Harris, I said, just take care of yourself. I said, I call you. We talk sports, but it's about your health as well. We all have to take care of ourselves. And I I said, you'll get. He said he'd be ready for when they go to India. I said, you're going to make it to Indianapolis. I said, it's going to happen.
Yeah, he'll get there.
Oh yes, I had to bring some encouragement to him the other day, and one thing I want to let you all know, we're talking about Cincinnati when they beat Notre Dame, but what's getting lost in all of this, let's not forget a team on their level, they struggled with. They won the game, but it was a struggle for them. Is the University of Memphis. I remember that game. It went down to the wire on that one.
Well, they struggled several times against several opponents, but yeah, you bring up that Cincy game. There was several times where, and some people say, well, that's because they weren't good or whatever, and that they'll be up for Alabama. Well, we'll see. We'll see.
Memphis not a slouch. Yeah, Memphis was not a slouch, and that's what I'm saying. You put 11 people on the field, and the thing about it, it's about who wanted bad enough, and like with your son was just bringing out about Cincinnati's defense. I saw that. I picked it up I picked up the same thing, Xavier. When they have a great pass defense, but when it comes down to the run, they can't defend it real well. And I think they're going to run some problems with Alabama today.
Yeah, you definitely think about their struggles. It was really bad against Tulsa. I think they gave up over 300 yards rushing. So when you look at that, you think with Alabama's size up front, when you look at Brian Robinson, a 230-plus pound running back that is healthy now, it's hard for me to believe that they'll be able to stop him. And even when Trey Sanders comes in and spells him for a time.
Oh, you're right, and I'm glad. Xavier, I'm glad you brought up the Tulsa game too. Yes, I said Tulsa. You look at them; they're better than what their record indicated. And I forgot about that game too. They struggled in that game too.
Yeah, that I think that was probably one of their biggest struggles. They struggled against Navy, I think, and South Florida got 28 points on them. But and listen, Cincy is a good team, but they're playing at another level, and I have seen it happen, so many times. When you're dominant against those you play against, and then the first thing, and the key is, it's going to be the speed of the game. It's just you cannot manufacture speed. You can't like teams when Nick Saban struggled to stop offenses that went fast. They used to always say it was because you just can't emulate that at the game. I mean, in practice. Well, it's the same thing with covering guys. You can't emulate Jameson Williams' speed unless you play Jameson Williams. As an offensive lineman, you cannot understand how fast Will Anderson gets off the ball until you see Will Anderson come off the ball. And that's what I think Cincy is going to be facing.
Yeah, Will Anderson. I just listen to young man speaking. I think he's hungry for this one. You're talking about him as quarterback. You know who he remind me of? I have a flash. Brother Houston, you and I have flashback to Mike Singletary, who played at my middle brother's alma mater, Baylor.
Mm-hmm.
My brother played basketball in the late 80s, early 90s, and one thing Mike Singletary said, he never, when it comes to quarterbacks, he said he always had that. It was always in him. He wanted to go after the quarterback.
Yeah, and that's what Will Anderson has, that same kind of mindset. But what I love about Will Anderson is most guys are either first round talent at pass rushing or first round talent at playing the run. Very seldom do you see a guy. Think about it. He has 32 and a half sacks. Tackles for a loss. It's almost split 50-50 between sacks and tackles for a loss against the run in the run game, which is unheard of.
Oh yeah, you're right. That is, and that's why I hate to. I know you're gonna really see him put on a show today, because I think about how they snubbed him, with the Heisman Trophy, not being invited to the ceremony, and they invited Hutchinson, but that was nothing like that. I didn't like that. I think he's gonna really show up today.
Yeah, he said it didn't bother him, but look out, Cincinnati.
Yeah, Cincinnati. Yeah.
and I'm telling you, if somehow Michigan gets past Georgia, yeah. If Michigan gets past Georgia, and those two guys are lined up on the field, it's going to oh my goodness, he will have the game of his life, I think. And like I said, he doesn't need any external motivation. I mean, that's the crazy part.
But when you give it to him,
right?
But when you give it to him,
right? That's what I'm saying. Is he doesn't need anybody to motivate him. But if we were to go against Michigan, I will. Hey, I might just watch that part of the game. I may not even watch anything else.
and Michigan's offensive line won the Joe Moore Award, so they're supposed to be the best offensive line in college football. So that'll be interesting just to see them against Georgia's defensive front today. If they can get past Georgia, how are you going to block Will Anderson? Because you're supposed to be the best.
Yeah. They'll be double teaming him. I promise you. They'll sacrifice one side of their offense to stop him, just to try to prove a point. And in doing so, Will Anderson could end up in that Michigan game not having a great game if that were to happen, because they would sacrifice just to make Aiden look better. And of course, that would mean that other Alabama, if that happens, that means that other Alabama players would have to step up. Dallas Turner and Drew Sanders and Toa and Harris and all those guys. So thanks, Chuck. Appreciate you, man.
All right. You all take care. Have a great New Year.
All right. You too. All right. Hey, listen, if you go through Cincy's schedule, and we can break that down later on. I'm not sure which game I meant to ask him. That he was getting confused with Memphis. I'm not sure Memphis was on their schedule this year. I'm not sure.
It might have been Tulane.
Yeah, I think the Tulane game and the Tulsa game, they kind of had 4 games in a row. Navy you can kind of throw out the window, but defensively, and Navy kept the ball away from him. They beat Navy 27-21. They beat Tulane 31-12. They beat Tulsa 28-20. And had to come back in that game. And then they gave up 28 points to South Florida. So, and then they righted the ship against SMU and got back on a 48-14 victory there, and ended the season against East Carolina. And then the championship game, they beat Houston 35-20. And, of course, everybody's saying, in that team, Houston beat Auburn. Okay, and – so
Auburn is not a good football team.
But Auburn took Alabama to the fourth quarter, and I promise you, Auburn is not playing today, and Houston is not playing today.
And Georgia scrubbed Auburn, and Alabama scrubbed Georgia. So you can play this circular game all you want.
Yeah, that's right. So Alabama, Cincinnati today. Things kicking off, and we'll be covering it right up until that kickoff, and then we'll have coverage right here on Top 109 right up through the entirety of the game and even post-game show. Hey, coming back on the other side, the phone lines are open for you to get in on the conversation. 205-342-9904. The Taco Casa hotline is open for business. Don't forget about Overflow Express Wash, overflowexpresswash.com. 2 locations in Tuscaloosa, one in Tuscaloosa, one in Northport. 2 locations to better serve you. Andy Phillips and his team do an awesome job. They have the packages where you can literally have an unlimited wash for $23.99 starting out and goes up from there. I'm telling you, keep your car clean inside and out with Overflow Express Wash, overflowexpresswash.com.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
From the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center, we got a bad wreck, 2059 westbound at exit 32 in Boligee. It's closed the interstate. Use an alternate route. Rain and fog is reducing visibility, so please slow down and be careful. The sales department is open today at Townsend Nissan, regular hours, so you can take advantage of year-end savings. They'll be closed tomorrow. I'm Captain Ray.
The perfect place to make your escape. Golden Moon offers 600 finely appointed rooms with incredible views. Take a dip in our Vegas-style infinity pool, complete with a full-service bar and cabana. Experience the South's premier golf destination at Dancing Rabbit Golf Club, or catch the biggest sporting events at Time Out Lounge. So what are you waiting for? Come see us in Choctaw, Mississippi. Golden Moon Hotel and Casino, a Pearl River Resort property.
Susan, it's so great to finally be able to get together again.
Oh, it sure is. And I really appreciate you picking up the bill.
I'm happy to. I've got the extra cash. Since we've all been driving so much more again, I've been using Get Upside, the free gas app that pays you cash back for every gallon of gas you buy.
Wait a minute. Are you saying you actually get paid cash when you buy gas with the Get Upside app?
Yes, up to 25 cents a gallon. Cash back every time I buy gas.
Does that actually add up to anything?
Some months I make $200 to $300.
Wow, that's serious extra cash. I'm downloading the free Get Upside app now.
Download the free Get Upside app now in the App Store or Google Play to save up to 25 cents a gallon when you buy gas. Use promo code READY for a 25 cents a gallon bonus on your first tank. That's up to 50 cents a gallon on your next fill-up. You can cash out anytime to PayPal or an e-gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Get Upside app and use promo code READY for a 25 cents a gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code READY.
With Taco Casa, it's not really fast food because it's made fresh every day in the store. The quality hasn't changed. The consistency hasn't changed because we haven't changed anything in the food. It's made fresh every morning in every restaurant. I think buzzwords in today's food industry are locally sourced and high quality ingredients. We want to say, that sounds great. We've been doing that since 1974.
Under the biggest cactus in town, Taco Casa. Hudson Blue Fine Jewelers has been helping people celebrate special moments for over 35 years.
We celebrate them with the world's most carefully selected diamonds, Forevermark diamonds.
Less than 1% of the world's diamonds are worthy of the Forevermark inscription, a promise of beauty, rarity, and responsible sourcing.
We have a fantastic selection of diamonds and mountings. Whether you're looking for an engagement ring or an anniversary gift, celebrate it with us.
And we will celebrate with you for a lifetime with our free lifetime warranty. Hudson Food Fine Jewelers in downtown Tuscaloosa.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
Getting out to a foggy start, I think, this morning, so be careful. Some showers, maybe a thunderstorm today. The afternoon high near 74. For your celebrations tonight, it'll be breezy and warm with a chance for shower, low 65. Showers and thunderstorms will be likely on Saturday. Severe weather again possible with a high of 6. I'm meteorologist Bill Murray on Tide 100.9.
It's 67 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
Interact with the Martin Houston Show by calling us at 205-342-9904 or tuning into the Martin Houston Show on Facebook.
Welcome back into the Martin Houston Show. Hey, coming up in the second half of the second quarter of the show, it's kind of interesting. I'm used to having a 1 hour show that has 4 quarters in it, but the second half of the 8 o'clock hour, we'll have Jacob Harris off the edge right here from 11 to 12 on Tide 100.9. He'll be joining us here. And I think he has a little different. It's going to be interesting. I know he's written a couple stories and things on Tide 109 about this defense. So I'm going to get his thoughts on that and how he feels about this game. So stay tuned for that conversation coming up here in about 8 minutes or so. That's Jacob Harris off the edge. But X, a couple questions I want to bring in from comments from a couple of listeners that tune in via chat. Said Curtis Moore II said, you can make the argument since that Jordan Battle play, his play on the field has excelled extremely. He should have had 2 pick sixes against Georgia. I think as Coach Saban would say, Jordan Battle has taken the bull by the horns in the secondary. Just my opinion, though. I actually think Jordan Battle picked it up probably a couple games before that. I go back to the Arkansas game. And to me, since the Arkansas game, I said if we can get rid of the busted communication in the secondary, this defense is going to take that next step. And to me, whether you look at LSU, I think we won the game at LSU because of our defense. I think we win Auburn because of our defense. And I think our defense set the tone against Georgia as well as much as the offense did. So, and I think Jordan Battle is one of the biggest catalysts for that.
Yeah, I mean, when you talk about his performance in and of itself, I would go back even to the Mississippi State game. You know, the way he played in that game, 2 interceptions with a pick six as well that day. But I definitely think he's the leader of the secondary, unquestioned. You know, with the injuries that they've had at corner, you've had to play some younger guys, some guys that you weren't expected to have to play as much this year. You know, Josh Jobe is out for the rest of the season, so his Alabama career is over. Kool-Aid McKinstry stepping into that spot, and you have to look to the guys that have the experience, and the most experienced guy in the secondary right now is Jordan Battle.
Yeah, and I think he's taken that and accepted that responsibility. You know, Pete Golden takes a big time lashing from the Bama fans as a whole. But I think this defense under him has gotten better, and if you go back and look at the last few games, I believe they've lived up to the preseason hype, as this could be one of Bama's best defenses in some years, especially since the era of the college football flip in terms of it becoming an offensive-led game, passing game. And with that said, I think it's important to have leaders at every level of the defense. And so when you look at this defense, Will Anderson clearly the leader at the front line. And then you have Jordan Battle, who has stepped up and taken his role there. But I also think that we have lost how well the 2 inside linebackers, because that to me was where you were like, oh my God, you just kind of held your breath. But I think Toa and Harris have also stepped up their game on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, when you look at them, I feel like there wasn't necessarily a lot of trust between the two of them to start the season. So they both were trying to do a little bit too much. But as the season has progressed, they've learned to trust each other and play well together. And you've seen the ability to move them around. Harris used as a pass rusher, Toto been able to play sideline to sideline, and they've balanced each other out pretty well since they finally started trusting each other.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that came more so from the Toa side, because it wasn't just – I don't think Toa just didn't trust Harris. I don't think Toa trusted anyone on that defense. If you go back and look at those first 4, 5, 6 games, he would call a defense, and then he would be trying to get somebody to move or getting somebody else in the right position, and then he wouldn't be in position. And he was out of position a lot. And I think he finally realized, okay, I'm not at Tennessee. These guys, and I'm not dogging Tennessee coaching or anything like that. The football IQ of the Alabama players is on the next level. That's what one of the biggest things that NFL coaches say is their IQ is through the roof. And he just, if he called the play and that guy didn't move instantly, he didn't realize that guy knew what to do. And so he'd be up there trying to get him, and that guy was going to move anyway. And when he began to trust that process, I think he became a better player.
Yeah, I mean, his experience at Tennessee is completely different from how Alabama is. And he's trusted his teammates more, and it's allowed him to play better.
Right.
You're talking about he's the first 100-plus tackle guy we've had since Reuben Foster. So that just shows you his ability to make plays when he's allowed his teammates around him to do what they're supposed to do without trying to do too much himself.
Yeah, and I think that their play today will be huge. We'll talk more about that. We're going to get the break here. Coming back on the other side of the break, we'll bring in off the edge is Jacob Harrison, which airs 11 to 12 right here on Tide 100.9. He also produces, so he has it from both sides, in front of the glass and behind the glass. So can't wait to get his thoughts and insight on this game. He may have a little different perspective, or maybe not different perspective, just a little more insight into the Alabama versus Cincinnati defense. That conversation up next right here on the Martin Houston Show College Football Playoff Semifinal Special.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
From the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center, we got a bad wreck. 2059 westbound at exit 32 in Bowling. It's closed the interstate. Use an alternate route. Rain and fog is reducing visibility, so please slow down and be careful. The sales department is open today at Townsend Nissan, regular hours, so you can take advantage of year-end savings. They'll be closed tomorrow. I'm Captain Ray.
Cardiology Consultants, West Alabama's oldest cardiology practice, with Doctors Hill, Anderson, Lewis, Shaw, Caraway, and Proctor. They're proud to welcome Dr. Petra Lynch, January 4th, 2022, and recently, Dr. Vishal Daya, for everything cardiac and peripheral vascular health related. Cardiology Consultants now accepting new patient appointments. 205-752-0694 or email now at mycdmd.com.
Have you ever wondered why eyeglasses cost so much? The eyewear industry has been dominated by a single company that's kept prices artificially high.
Yikes.
Warby Parker was created to change that. They design and produce their own eyewear and then sell it directly to you for a fraction of the price. Warby Parker's high-quality glasses start at just $95, including your prescription. Try 5 pairs of frames for free. Go to warbyparker.com to pick your 5 frames to try on at home for free. That's warbyparker.com.
I can go from 0 to 60 way too fast.
Who knew electric vehicle owners were having so much fun?
20 or 30 years ago, I owned a gas sports car, and this car is much quicker.
It's a great, fun car to drive. When you put your foot on the accelerator, it just goes. They're fun, they're fast, they're efficient.
Visit driveelectricalabama.com to learn how you can start having fun driving an electric vehicle.
Sponsored by the Alabama Clean Fuels Coalition, the ABA, and this station.
Everything is better at Benton Nissan. At Benton Nissan of Bessemer and Benton Nissan of Hoover, you get an even bigger selection. We have more than 400 used cars on the ground. Don't pay above sticker for new cars when we have like-new used cars waiting for you. Drive a little, save a lot at Benton Nissan of Bessemer, 5487 Academy Way, and Benton Nissan of Hoover, 1640 Montgomery Highway. Benton Nissan, your friend in the car business. For qualified customers, see dealer for details. Everything is better at Benton Nissan.
With the new law, more people qualify for financial assistance at healthcare.gov. Real customers like Taylor.
You know, I wish people knew how easy it was to get health coverage. This new law has made it so affordable. I'm only paying $52 a month, but there are quality plans for even less.
New law, lower prices, more people qualify. Enroll by January 15th at healthcare.gov.
Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
Getting out to a foggy start out there this morning, so be careful. A few showers and maybe a thunderstorm today. The afternoon high near 74. For your celebrations tonight, it'll be breezy and warm with a chance for shower and a low of 65. Showers and thunderstorms will be likely on Saturday. Severe weather again possible with a high of 6. I'm meteorologist Bill Murray on Tide 100.9.
It's 67 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
Welcome back to the Martin Houston Show, the sound of Bama sports. Your show, your team, on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Welcome back into the Martin Houston Show. Man, it's so much having so much fun being with you on this game day edition college football playoff semifinal special hosted by myself and Xavier Houston. But the great joy I have is getting to talk to some of these other guys that are on throughout the day. Ryan Fowler kicked things off this morning at 7. We had DC Capstone report at 7:30, and now rolling into the second half of the second hour, we have Mr. Jacob Harrison off the edge. Good morning, Jacob. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing good, man. I'm excited that we're finally playing this game after talking about it for 3 straight weeks.
Hey, well, you know what, Jacob? I literally I can't do it. So my first few, like, if I had started talking about this game 3 weeks ago, I would be like, oh, okay. I wouldn't even be excited about playing it. So I try, but the fans still want to talk about it for 3 weeks. But like you said, glad it's finally here. And man, I love different perspectives and different things. And not that I'm not going to say that you think Cincy wins or doesn't win per se, but I think you bring a little different perspective to why Cincy may be able to make this a game. And I'll toss it to you to kind of talk about what you've seen from this Cincy defense.
Yeah, I think I'm just trying to respect them. I'm just trying to do what the coach says. I listen to people that are smarter than me, and Nick Saban's way smarter than me, so I just kind of listen to him. So I'm just respecting Cincinnati, and when I look at their defense, I think offensively, Desmond Ridder, Alec Pierce, Jerome Ford, those guys are going to do their thing because this game is built to assist offenses. So even if Alabama's defense continues to play as well as it has over the past several months, I still anticipate big-time players make big-time plays in big-time games. So Cincy's offense they're going to do their thing for most of the game. Defensively, though, is where they're going to win or lose it. And, that's where all their talent supposedly lies. This is how they've run roughshod over the Group of 5, over the American Athletic Conference, how they got past Notre Dame in South Bend is because of their defense. It's guys like Myjai Sanders, Darian Beavers, Sauce Gardner, and Kobe Bryant who won the Thorpe Award. Sauce Gardner's never given up a touchdown in his collegiate career. The passer rating when he is targeted is a big fat 0. And I know a lot of Alabama fans look at that and say, well, he's in the Group of 5. Well, name another Group of 5 corner that has ever done that. And you can't, because that's how impressive it is. I don't care what level you're playing at. That's incredible. He'd give up touchdowns if he played Power 5. He'd give up a passer rating if he played Power 5, but he'd still be incredible.
And he's not. You're talking about Mark Gardner. You need to understand he is one of those early adopters, Jacob, of what I call the new corners. He's 6'3". And that's what people don't always understand. A lot of times, man, these 50-50 balls and all that stuff is because the corners are still 6 foot and the receivers are 6'5". Well, this guy, he has the athletic ability to play with the smaller guys, but he's big enough that when it's a battle, he can go up and battle.
And a lot of modern 6'3" corners, they play a lot of zone.
Right.
Richard Sherman's, those kind of guys.
Yep.
They're usually a tad bit slower, so they're zone corners.
Yep.
Cincinnati runs a lot of man.
Correct.
I mean, almost exclusively man. So that shows even more just how impressive of an athlete he is. Plus, they run all those crazy blitzes in the American Athletic Conference Championship. They ran a corner blitz with him, and he lit the quarterback up. Innovated and just destroyed him. So, coupled with the fact that they have this talent, those 4 guys specifically are the most talented guys they have. I told you, on Alabama tradition, they have a dog at every level. And usually when you have that, and even multiple at the defensive back level, you're able to circumvent your weaknesses by having so much attention drawn to those dogs. And that's where Cincinnati gets a lot of help, and where, maybe it won't matter as much with Alabama because Alabama knows how to handle your dogs and then take advantage of your weaknesses. But it's something that helps Cincinnati stay in the game a little bit more. And the fact that they show so many different looks in their defense, unlike other 3-3-5 teams, I think it actually gives them way more of a chance to stay in this game rather than what a lot of people think is that they'll just come in for the first quarter and, show that they belong for a quarter, but then eventually get routed by Alabama. I'm not saying that's not a possibility. I mean, if there's going to be a blowout scenario, it's Alabama's favor. But I think Cincinnati, if the moment were too big for them, they would have already failed and not been able to make the moment. They have been fighting for this for 2 years. They're a team full of 22 and 23-year-olds. They're ready. And I think that, they're going to give Alabama all they can handle. I still think Alabama might cover the spread, but I think it'll be in a respectable fashion.
And, you just hit something, Jacob, that I have said for a long time. You know why Alabama was so dominant last year? They were so dominant because they had a bunch of 21 and 22-year-olds that traditionally would have been playing in, you take and just go, how many guys traditionally would have been playing at the next level? You go back and look when Auburn won the championship with Cam Newton, that offensive line were all 22 and 23-year-olds. I'm gonna run down the defense. The first defense, Xavier, listen to this. Defensive ends, seniors. Defensive tackle, graduate. Will linebacker, Beavers, who is a absolute beast. 6'4", 250. He's a grad transfer. The Mike linebacker is a grad transfer. Have you noticed that there's no one younger than a senior yet? They're either seniors or graduates. Then, they got a young guy, got a redshirt junior, which means he's in his 4th year as well. And potentially could be his 5th year based on how COVID played out. Then you have Mike Gardner, who's a junior. The guy we just talked about being a beast is the youngest guy. Is the guy you just named, Jacob, that we just went into this whole, he's an elite corner, never gave up anything. He's the youngest guy on this defense. Brian Cook, safety, redshirt senior transfer. Javion Hicks, senior. Kobe Bryant, graduate. And then they got another young guy who's a redshirt junior in the nickelback.
And here's the thing, too. On top of having that experience, a lot of people look at the group of 5 team and they're like, oh, well, they're a bunch of 2 and 3 stars. They're just, they've been playing together for 5 years. That's how they finally got over this hump and why they're here, plus all the other stuff that had to fall for them to get here, such as Oklahoma State falling 1 yard short in the Big 12 championship. That's not totally the case. Now, is their depth kind of like that? Yeah. But their starters, these are a lot of guys that Luke Fickell pulled in that are 4 stars that didn't want to sit on the bench at Michigan,
or
4
Ohio.
stars that didn't want to sit on the bench at Ohio State, 4 stars that didn't want to sit at the bench at Michigan State, and instead they come to Cincinnati and they played for 4 years. They have contributed to this team for 4 years, and if they didn't do it here, they did it somewhere else, and then came here for the opportunity to play in the playoffs with the Cincinnati Bearcats under a fantastic coach in Luke Fickell. See, if Cincinnati were playing Michigan or Georgia, I would have a strong case for my rule to pick the team with the best coach and the best quarterback, because there's an argument to be made that Luke Fickell could potentially be a better coach than Kirby Smart or Jim Harbaugh on a field. And there's absolutely no doubt in my mind that Desmond Ridder is better quarterback than Stetson Bennett, JT Daniels, or Cade McNamara. So they would have a much better shot in that game. When Cincinnati lost this game was when Alabama was named the number 1 seed, but that doesn't mean they're going to get absolutely dominated.
Yeah, and of course I'm giving the angle. I think Alabama talent is going to override some of that, but we're looking at. I always like to look at Cincy wins if, and there's enough dogs on this defense that they can create chaos. And that's the way they play. I call it 3-3 aggressive, Jacob, but it's just they try to come at you from as many different angles and as many different ways as they can. I tell you what, let's go ahead and get the break here, because one of the things that when you hear a 3-3 defense that makes you lick your chops as a running team. But you said you've seen some things on film that they've done to try to offset that. So let's have that conversation, and then we'll get into a couple other things, and maybe even have you talk about that Michigan-Georgia game as well. You're listening to the Martin Houston Show. This is the college football playoff semifinal special. Don't forget about Southmark Design, official outfitter of the Martin Houston Show. Go check them out, southmarkdesign.com.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
From the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center, we got a bad wreck. 2059 westbound at exit 32 in Bowling. It's closed the interstate. Use an alternate route. Rain and fog is reducing visibility, so please slow down and be careful. The sales department is open today at Townsend Nissan, regular hours, so you can take advantage of year-end savings. They'll be closed tomorrow. I'm Captain Ray.
Susan, it's so great to finally be able to get together again.
Oh, it sure is. And I really appreciate you picking up the bill.
I'm happy to. I've got the extra cash. Since we've all been driving so much more again, I've been using Get Upside, the free gas app that pays you cash back for every gallon of gas you buy.
Wait a minute. Are you saying you actually get paid cash when you buy gas with the Get Upside app?
Yes, up to 25 cents a gallon. Cash back every time I buy gas.
Does that actually add up to anything?
Some months I make $200 to $300.
Wow, that's serious extra cash. I'm downloading the free Get Upside app now.
Download the free Get Upside app now in the App Store or Google Play to save up to 25 cents a gallon when you buy gas. Use promo code PHIL for a 25 cents a gallon bonus on your first tank. That's up to 50 cents a gallon on your next fill-up. You can cash out anytime to PayPal or an e-gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Get Upside app and use promo code PHIL for a 25 cents a gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code PHIL.
The free Autozone Fix Finder service can help troubleshoot the likely cause of your pesky check engine light for free and get you back on the road. Restrictions apply. Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Tuscaloosa Tire and Service, they've got the big brands you know and trust. Goodyear, Firestone, Bridgestone, Cooper, and they can finance for you as well. When you need routine maintenance and alignment, a tune-up, whatever it is, belts, hoses, just basic stuff, or when you don't know what's wrong with your car, truck, or SUV, make it Tuscaloosa Tire and Service. They're dependable, they're trustworthy. That's why they've lasted for over 36 years. Skyland Boulevard, McFarland Boulevard East in Northport on Lurleen Wallace Boulevard. Check out the website, TuscaloosaTireandService.com.
My caretaker was very rough with me. I thought they did it because I wasn't moving fast enough.
Elder abuse is a crime, and together we can stop it. If you or someone you know has been abused, neglected, or exploited, call the Adult Abuse Hotline at 1-800-458-7214. That's 1-800-458-7214. Sponsored by the Alabama Department of Human Resources, the Department of Justice, ADECA grant number 18VA-VS050, the ABA, and this station.
Have you wanted to speak a new language but thought it'd be too difficult or take too much time? Then try Babbel. In just 15 minutes a day, Babbel teaches you conversations that you will actually use. With 14 languages and lesson topics like travel, business, relationships, and more, you'll learn what matters most to you. Babbel. Language for life. Learn a new language with ease. Go to Babbel.com to try for free. That's BABBEL.com.
Interact with the Martin Houston Show by calling us at 205-342-9904 or tuning into the Martin Houston Show on Facebook.
Welcome back into the Martin Houston Show's college football playoff semifinal special. We got Jacob Harris of Off the Edge that airs right here from 11 to 12. And we're going to be on the air from started at 7, be on till 9:30. And then the tailgate show will pick it up from there. And then from there, we'll go to the actual game coverage. And that'll carry us right up through the game. And then, Jacob, you and Kerry Clark come on to wrap things up. Is that correct?
Yeah, 2 hours after the game ends, Kerry Clark and I'll have 2 hours of content, taking phone calls, reacting to the win, and keeping up with the Orange Bowl and how Michigan may be handling Georgia.
Same phone number all the time, 205-342-9904. You can get in on the conversation there. Hey, Jacob, I love to help promote the other shows here. You're on from 11 to 12. Reason I'm asking you this is because one of my faithful listeners also listens to you. He says, nice, looking forward to Jacob Harris's segment as well. I like his technical angle he brings to Off the Edge. I'm addicted to all the shows on Tide 109. But kind of tell our listeners why they should be tuning in at 11 o'clock because of what the angle and the way you approach the game.
Yeah, I know Curtis misses that I don't stream anymore. Maybe sometime in the future. I appreciate that. My show started almost a year ago as a nightly show, moved up to the weekdays when Travis Reier moved on. So what I try to do in the hour that I get is be analytical and try to be educational, while also being entertaining and doing my job in that role too. But, watching film and talking about what's going on the field rather than, all the chaotic things that may surround our wonderful sport. With the passing of John Madden this week, I think that we can all look at football and say, well, what got us into it? Well, it was a guy that was entertaining and educational. And so I try to kind of replicate that on my show and give, a look at what's actually happening on the field.
Yeah, absolutely. Ed, you got a question for Jacob?
Yeah, how you doing, Jacob?
Doing good, bud.
So when we're getting ready to break down this run game for Alabama versus the Cincinnati front, we know that when you see the traditional 3-3, you think, is an easy thing to run against. But Cincinnati has size at some of these positions that are normally smaller linebackers. Do you think Alabama, with the physical size of their offensive line and Brian Robinson, can have a day like a Tulsa, like a Tulane did against this defense?
Yes and no. I think it's dependent upon how willing Luke Fickell is to stay in a traditional 3-3-5 to slow down Bryce Young. Because I know that's where all the attention goes. Obviously, he won the Heisman Trophy. But if you stick to a traditional 3-3-5 defense, Alabama scorched those guys this year. Ole Miss and Mississippi State, 195 yards rushing against Ole Miss, 210 yards rushing against Mississippi State. If Cincinnati stays in that formation, that traditional base formation, they're going to get destroyed. Brian Robinson will run for 250 yards on them on 30 carries. Because why would Alabama do anything different? And yes, they have size, especially at linebacker. But Myjai Sanders is a lean speed rusher, right? So you effectively take him out of the game in that role. And their defensive linemen are a little bit stocky. They're old school kind of big. They're not those big behemoth 6'6" defensive linemen that you might see in Power 5 football. So if they stick to that traditional 3-3-5, they're going to get absolutely annihilated by Alabama, because that's what Alabama does to those kinds of defenses. But again, this comes down to how Luke Fickell attacks this game schematically, because he shows that 3-3-5 in a lot of different ways, and he even converts it into a 3-4 and a 4-3 and 4-2s and other multiple looks to still have a nickel presence to slow down the passing game, but still be able to stop the run. But just a handful of, just watching the Notre Dame game and the first half of the Houston game, when they were in that traditional 3-3-5 and either of those teams ran the ball up the middle, it was 10 yards, easy. And while Kyron Williams is great, and neither of them running behind Alabama's offensive line, and neither one of them are Brian Robinson in an open field with the truck stick that he's got.
And when you're looking at that, if they try to go away from the traditional to force the passing, does he have enough faith in Kobe Bryant and Sauce Gardner to be able to run with these guys from Alabama one-on-one?
Yes, because I think you can trust those safeties on the back end to bracket over the top and help out against Jameson Williams' speed. That's a lot of what people want to say was, Sauce and Kobe haven't played against anybody as fast as Jameson Williams. Yeah, you're right, but those safeties on the back end know how to do their job too, and they're efficient. And the fact that John Mechie's not in the game allows you to just bracket Jameson Williams the whole game. So if Bill O'Brien's smart, he's not going to just send Jameson Williams down the field a gazillion times. He's going to have him on some drags and slants and RPOs and those types of things to help get him involved and open up over the top, lax things down. But, in a dead sprint, Jameson Williams is going to torch these guys. But, who else is going to step up at wide receiver if Cincinnati can slow down Alabama's running game? Because first of all, you're going to deal with Bryce Young's going to be running around because these guys don't respect their rush lane. So he's going to be able to run around and extend plays, and that's going to give opportunities to these other guys to catch the ball with open space around them. That's why Cincinnati has struggled so much with big tight ends. So maybe a Jalil Billingsley or a Cameron Latu is able to help out in that regard. I don't think they'll shut down Jamison Williams at all. I mean, dude should have won the Bolitnikoff. He's that good. So it'll be interesting to see a Bolitnikoff type player against two Thorpe Award type players.
Yep.
But I do think they'll be able to handle him. And if handling him is 6 catches for 120 yards, you really can't ask for more.
Yeah.
Cincinnati against one of the best receivers in the country.
Yeah, Jacob, and like you said, handling him, that won't matter if nobody else steps up. In other words, Jamison Williams getting 6 catches for 124 yards, but none of them are of his 50-plus variety for TDs, it really won't matter unless someone else is stepping up. So it's kind of one of those things where like the Georgia game, if you just heard Brock Bowers' numbers, you'd be like, oh, my God, Georgia must have killed Alabama. But when that's all you gave Georgia, so what? If no one else steps up, then it won't matter. And I think you bring up a great point of how they will attack him and try to cover him. How important does Bryce Young's legs become, not just in extending plays, but being willing to do what he did against Georgia, run and run make those timely runs.
Well, and that's where the X factor comes in. This wasn't so much the case against Notre Dame because they ran 3 different quarterbacks and they didn't establish the run, so Cincinnati was very comfortable. But in their most recent game against Houston has a very athletic quarterback in Clayton Tune, and Cincinnati was so bad at handling their rush lanes, because I mentioned this yesterday on my show. You can ask the best pass rushers in the world, is it a one-on-one job? No, it is a full effort from the pass rushing unit, whether it's the defensive lineman blitzing linebackers, your opposite compatriot on the other side of the line. All of you have to be within step and respecting what the rush lanes are, especially against athletic quarterbacks like Bryce Young, because if you don't, there's going to be that gap. There's always that gap. You can't bring enough guys to cover every gap. So if that gap exists, can you get off of your block and shut down that gap, or at least create a surrounding pressure to hone in on the quarterback and make it to where he kind of can?
And Jacob, and on top of that, go ahead.
Cincinnati really struggled to do that against Houston.
Yeah, and when you say that gap and that lane,
all over the place.
Yeah, when you say that gap in that lane, the more undisciplined they become, the bigger that gap becomes, the more obvious that gap. And that gap does 2 things. It opens it up for him to run, but it also opens him up to see the field clearly too. Nick Saban.
And he's 6 foot tall. He's not even used to seeing the field clearly.
That's right.
How much he can tear you up when he can see it.
Hey, let me point out to our listeners exactly what you're talking about. Go back and watch the Auburn game. Auburn game was they spread out. They created their own passing lane to sucker Bryce Young into it. Bryce Young never drops back when he feels pressure. He steps up into the pocket. That's his natural reaction. And so Auburn put that outside linebacker. Do you remember how they stretched him out another 3 yards outside the tackle, and they said, "Rush up the field, son, and make him think that he has that gap, and then fold back in." And and think about how many times Bryce Young stepped up. And once he stepped up, that guy came back in and made the tackle, or because everyone else knew that's what
7 times.
Do what? He said 7.
About 7 times.
Right. But that's your point where a coach actually schemed to create what appeared to be a bad rush lane. It looked like they were playing a bad rush lane, but they knew that he doesn't like to escape around the backside of the pressure. He likes to step up into it. So they made it look like they were out of their rushing lane just to fall back into that rush lane against him. And so to your point, that's what Cincy will have to do. I give you, I would love, man, I should have planned for you to be on for like the whole show, but Great, love your insight. Want to encourage everybody to tune in from 11 to 12 every day. But Jacob, I'll give it to you to closing thoughts on what you see happening in this Bama versus Cincy game, and then give your your thoughts on. I think you hinted at it a minute ago, the Michigan-Georgia game.
Yeah, I think that conversation that we ended with, I think it was apropos, because I think that is ultimately the difference in this game, is that Cincinnati they don't handle their pass rush well. Their best pass rusher has 2.5 sacks of the 37 they have. So I don't anticipate he's going to double that number in this game and help them out. And those pass rushing lanes being open is going to help Bryce Young to make plays and extend plays, and Cincinnati's not going to be able to handle that. So I anticipate that Cincinnati will prove they belong in this situation, and that we'll no longer have this weird conversation about Cincinnati and the other group of 5 not belonging. And hopefully in that realm, we get to some more reasonable playoff expansion talks, because if they don't, we're not going to have advancement in that at all. But I think that they'll show that they belong. They'll stay consistent in the game. It's not just one quarter of hype. It's a we belong game. So, but I anticipate Alabama will still technically cover the spread. They'll win by 13. I think that's actually not covering, but I've got 34-21 in that game. And then in the Michigan and Georgia game, I do have Michigan blood in my veins, so I don't know how much of this is my heart and just playing to Alabama and Michigan. But God, to me, I think Georgia lost so much momentum because they finally played a great team and got annihilated. And Michigan has nothing but momentum on their side because they have annihilated so many good teams, including the one that they've been waiting 9 years to do it against. And they have an impeccable defense, a proven defense against quality offenses. They have an incredible running game. Their quarterback is smart and can make plays when necessary, and these are all things that Georgia lacks. So I think that Michigan can go in and win the game by 10. I haven't given too much thought on a score prediction there, but I think it'll be Alabama and Indianapolis for the national championship this year.
All right, Alabama and Michigan. You heard it right here from Jacob Harrison. Now, if these 2 games turn out, I'm telling you, you need to tune back in the next week with Jacob Harrison every day off the edge at 11 o'clock. Thanks, Jacob. Appreciate you coming on, man.
Absolutely. Anytime, guys.
All right. Hey, let's get the break here. We'll be back. The phone lines are open for you, the callers, the rest of the morning. X and I will just start digging deeper on all of these different conversations we've had, and we'll look at both Alabama and Michigan. Coming up next, Alabama and Cincy. He already got me convinced it's going to be Alabama, Michigan. Stay tuned for more conversation right here on the College Football Playoff Semifinal Special.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
From the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center, we got a bad wreck. 2059 westbound at exit 32 in Bowling. It's closed the interstate. Use an alternate route. Rain and fog is reducing visibility, so please slow down and be careful. The sales department is open today at Townsend Nissan, regular hours, so you can take advantage of year-end savings. They'll be closed tomorrow. I'm Captain Ray.
In a collision, easy decision. One name, one firm, one call. Mesrano.
I made that one call to Mesrano after being hit by an 18-wheeler. He got me $875,000.
I made that one call to Mesrano after being T-boned on McFarland. He got me $125,000.
I made that one call to Mesrano after my fender bender. He got me $50,000.
One call, one firm, Mesrano.
No representation with the quality of legal services to be performed is greater than quality of legal services performed by other lawyers.
Did you know not washing your hands after using the bathroom can increase the spread of hepatitis A? Washing your hands with soap and water, as well as getting vaccinated, is the best way to protect yourself if you are at risk of getting hepatitis A. One dose of the hepatitis A vaccine provides long-lasting protection in up to 95% of those who receive it. For more information on the hepatitis A outbreak in our state, visit alabamapublichealth.gov/IMM. Sponsored by the Alabama Department of Public Health, the ABA, and this station.
Don't miss a play at the Sportsbook at Pearl River Resort. Your front row seat to all the action. Place bets on all professional and most college sports at the counter, kiosk, or on your phone. Then catch the game on one of our 20 big screens from the comfort of the newly remodeled Timeout Lounge. Plus, the PRR Sports app gives you access to live, in-play sports betting. Sportsbook at Pearl River Resort. Be more than a fan, be a player. Must be 21.
Hey, Pete, how's business? It's great. Foot traffic's still way down, but more people are finding me online. Nice. How'd you pull that off? Well, the first thing I did was go to mylocalcustomers.com to see exactly how many searches there were for businesses like mine. So I guess there were a lot? Yeah, there were hundreds of local searches every month. So after I saw that, they helped me position my business online to get in front of those customers. That's awesome. I wonder how many people are searching for my services around here. Well, it's quick and easy to get the answer. Plus, it's free. Just go to mylocalcustomers.com to find out. If there are a lot of searches, you should definitely get in front of them. If there aren't, no harm, no foul.
Go to mylocalcustomers.com for a free local customer analysis that will show you how many customers are searching online for your type of business. It's quick, easy, and free. Visit mylocalcustomers.com. That's mylocalcustomers.com.
We're planning a trip to Spain later this year.
But our Spanish
is pretty bad. So we're using Babbel.
Babbel's conversation-based method teaches you real-life words and phrases. And with Babbel's interactive, bite-sized lessons, you'll remember what you learned.
There's no easier way to learn your language.
Ahora hablamos español.
He just said Spanish.
Babbel, language for life. Now try Babbel for free. Just go to Babbel.com. That's BABBEL.com.
WTUG HD2 Northport and W265CG Tuscaloosa. 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Alabama 1st and 10 on the 12. Again, Houston. He's got a hole. He's over. Alabama touchdown.
I'm just wondering if your listeners know how good a football player you were. I can still see you playing that fullback, knocking those players out of the way. And I believe I could have run behind you.
Martin, I can remember when we came to summer and you were playing fullback up there. And I saw you in the weight room and watched you work out in the weight room. But you was strong enough to pick up the whole weight room. I wanted to fix it, and I learned that thing sometimes. biggest mistake we ever made.
The Martin Houston Show with national championship winning fullback Martin Houston, giving you 1 hour of intense, hard-hitting analysis from an insider's perspective. It's time for the Martin Houston Show on your home for Alabama sports, Tide 100.9, and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
You're back in with the Martin Houston Show. I know you're normally tuning in right now to listen to Gary Harris, and we're praying that Gary Harris continues to have a quick, speedy, and complete and no lingering recovery from his bout. We're excited to be here as Martin Houston Show College Football Playoff Semifinal Special with myself and Xavier Houston. For those of you who may not know, Martin Houston. And I host the Martin Houston Show every Monday through Friday from 6 to 7. So glad to be with you this morning. We got about an hour and a half left. The phone lines are open. Taco Casa hotline open for business, 205-342-9904. You're able to bring that conversation right here. You can bring up whatever topic you want to talk about, or you can add your thoughts and comments on chat, and we'll bring that into the conversation as well. There's been a lot of conversations about a lot of things, and we're just gonna kind of have a free for all Friday. We'll go back and forth, but one of the things, Mason, if you would, if you get that audio regarding McLaughlin and Dalcourt, one of the things we haven't talked much about, we've given Joe Pendry all the credit, right, for what happened against Georgia. And rightfully so, because he's like one of the ingredients that took a greater role. But the other ingredient that took a greater role was we had a different center in. And anybody know anything about relationships? You know, Mason, Xavier, relationship is all about what? Communication, man. I mean, two people can really love each other but not be able to communicate, and it doesn't matter. And you may be thinking, Martin, what you talking about? Well, there's no greater relationship in the sports world than an offensive line and their ability to relate and communicate. And so How big of a deal is it? Was McLaughlin as much a part of that conversation, not conversation, but improvement in what we saw against Georgia as Pentry was?
I definitely think you have to give him his props for how he performed in that game, going up against that vaunted Georgia defensive line in only, his second start. He was able to do some things, and he seemed to be in control of that offensive line, being able to get calls out. It allowed Bryce to just flow a little bit more freely from the way the game progressed, and Bryce being able to make his calls to the receivers and the running back. So I definitely think Seth McLaughlin was a huge improvement, and hey, he earned it.
Well, and you have to think, you look at that game and you go, okay, he came in, and this was the first start, but he came in and started against the Jordan Davis, the number one Outland Trophy winner and Player of the Year and several other awards that also were robbed from Will Anderson. But he didn't just come in any game and start, and he pretty much relegated Jordan Davis immobile, or useless. I mean, he did nothing. It was a couple times by the end of the game he was just standing there. So the nose tackle, their version of Jordan Davis is 6'2", 285. Okay, little difference in the size.
Just a little
bit, but still, nevertheless, a guy who, regardless of who it is, who do you think Alabama rolls out? Is it McLaughlin or is it Dalcourt?
I think you have to go with McLaughlin after his performance in the Georgia game. Now, granted, a lot of that was due to Dalcourt being hurt, but McLaughlin played well at the end of the Auburn game, and then he performed extremely well against Georgia. So I don't see why you wouldn't keep rolling with what worked. We've seen a couple changes throughout the offensive line through the season, and it looks like that McLaughlin is the best fit from what we've seen.
Yeah, and we're looking at it from a game. You're trying to wonder whether this coaching staff thinking. Mason, were you able to find that audio?
Yes, it is all ready to go.
All right, could you please fire that audio up?
Well, I think we, play the player that we feel gives us the best opportunity to win versus the matchup that we have. Some of that, guys have to be physically ready to play in terms of being 100%. That sometimes, plays into it. But there's always difficult decisions to make when it comes to personnel. Everybody wants to play. And I think as a coach, you just try to, make the decision based on who you feel will give you the best chance to win based on, practice, preparation, and, how they've historically performed, as a player. So I think it is a challenge, for our offensive line. It was a challenge for them, in the SEC championship game against a very good front seven. They'll have a very similar challenge in this game. I know that I hear from a lot of the folks out there in the media that, the way to have a chance to beat us is to pressure the quarterback. So in many cases, it's important that the offensive line can do a good job of protecting the quarterback and not allowing that to happen so he does have a chance to operate. And we've been most successful when that's been the case. So this is a very challenging game for them.
Yeah, this is a very challenging game for this offensive line, and who we go with may make the difference. One of the biggest things, if you watch this Alabama team all year, has been communication issues. If you blitz, stunt, or twist, or loop, or stem one way or the other, this offense seems to struggle with the communication, and most of the time that starts with the center. And we have seen, yes, we've had some dominant centers, and we had one last year, but we've also had some very cerebral centers, in the Ryan Kellys of the world and Barrett Jones of the world, guys who were good athletes, don't get me wrong, but it was their ability to control and dominate that offensive line and a communication standpoint that made the difference. So without a doubt, man, it's pretty amazing what you see happening there. So let's go to break here. Coming back on the other side, we'll do a quick round robin of questions and issues and topics to hit. You're listening to the Martin Houston Show right here on Tide 100.9. This is a college football playoff semifinal special.
With Taco Casa, it's not really fast food because it's made fresh every day in the store. The quality hasn't changed. The consistency hasn't changed because we haven't changed anything in the food. It's made fresh every morning in every restaurant. I think buzzwords in today's food industry are locally sourced and high quality ingredients. We want to say, that sounds great. We've been doing that since 1974. Under the biggest cactus in town, Taco Casa.
View was worth a hike.
Right? And it's a good way to stay on top of my health.
Yes, I'm Cologuard, a prescription colon cancer screening option for people 45 plus at average risk. Have you screened for colon cancer?
Not yet.
Don't wait. It's more treatable when caught in early stages.
Tell me more.
Cologuard is non-invasive and it's used at home. It detects altered DNA in your stool to find 92% of colon cancers.
92%?
Yep, even those in early stages.
This was seen in a clinical study with patients 50 and older. Any positive result should be followed by a diagnostic colonoscopy. False positive and negative results may occur. Cologuard is not a replacement for colonoscopy in high-risk patients. Do not use if you have had adenomas, have inflammatory bowel disease and certain hereditary syndromes, or a personal or family history of colon cancer.
Most insured patients pay $0. Ask your provider or an online prescriber if Cologuard is right for you, or visit Cologuard.com.
I'm in.
When others treat your fries as an afterthought, all you're left with are cold, soggy fries. That's why Wendy's new fries are ones you won't forget, guaranteed to be hot and crispy, or we'll replace them. We're talking natural cut, skin-on fries, perfectly seasoned with a hint of sea salt. In fact, they're even preferred almost 2-to-1 over McDonald's. These are fries so hot and crispy, they beg a new question.
What would you like with your fries?
Try them today, only at Wendy's.
A participating U.S. Wendy's. Taste preference based on a national taste test by an independent research company.
So I'm not one to save and tell, but the Black Friday deals at Kohl's, so good. I got a $29.99 Amazon Echo Dot, $29.99 Adidas fleece for my husband, and 50% off puzzles and games, which will be perfect for keeping the kids busy over winter break. Did I mention the extra 15% off and the $15 Kohl's cash you get for every $50 spent? So, yeah, guess that's one secret I'm happy to spell. Select style ends November 26th. Coupons do not apply. Some exclusions apply. See store or Kohl's.com for details.
Has the pandemic affected your business? Even with more and more customers going online in the past 5 years, online business has grown greatly due to the pandemic. Now more than ever, it's important to have a strong online presence so that customers can find your business and products easily. That's where Townsquare comes in to help. Go to mylocalcustomers.com for a free competitive analysis to see how your business stands up to the competition. And if you're one of the first to sign up, you'll get $500 in free advertising on this radio station. That's mylocalcustomers.com.
Don't miss a play at the Sportsbook at Pearl River Resort. Your front row seat to all the action. Place bets on all professional and most college sports at the counter, kiosk, or on your phone. Then catch the game on one of our 20 big screens from the comfort of the newly remodeled Timeout Lounge. Plus, the PRR Sports app gives you access to live, in-play sports betting. Sportsbook at Pearl River Resort. Be more than a fan. Be a player. Must be 21.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
Getting out to a foggy start out there this morning, so be careful. Expect a few showers and maybe a thunderstorm today. The afternoon high near 74. For your celebrations tonight, it'll be breezy and warm with a chance of a shower and a low of 65. Shower thunderstorms will be likely on Saturday. Severe weather again possible with a high of 70s. I'm meteorologist Bill Murray on Tide 100.9.
It's 67 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
Roll Tide, the best sports talk, period. Your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Welcome back into the Martin Houston Show. It's hard to believe this is the last 10 minutes of the program, the college football semifinal special, the Martin Houston Show, hosted by Xavier and Martin Houston. Hey, man, let's do some rapid fire, quick answers, quick topics. First and foremost, I believe I call it the 3S strategy and approach that Cincy can do nothing about: size, speed, and savage attitude. I think Alabama, I give them a check in all three of those. We're the bigger team, we're the faster team, and I think Will Anderson and his savage approach to the game gives Bama the edge in terms of those three things.
Yeah, without a doubt, they're by far the more talented team as well, to throw that into the mix. So
that doesn't start with an S.
I know the 3S and
Superstar.
There
you go. Go ahead.
So I definitely think that Alabama has the advantage up front, outside, and all across the board. So all they have to do is go out and play their game, and they'll win it.
And the speed thing is, I know people say it, but it does matter. And I think that will, if Cincy is able to adjust to the speed, they stay in the game. If the speed catches them off guard and they can't catch up, it's going to be a long day. Key matchups when you look at this game, who you got, man?
Definitely you look at Sauce Gardner and Kobe Bryant against Jamison Williams and whoever is that wide receiver to step up for their offense. You look at Jalen Armour Davis against an Alec Pierce, or Henry To'oTo'o Christian Harris against Jerome Ford.
Yeah, and I would say to this, I don't think it's going to be Williams is going to have his stuff. They're going to take that second guy. I think it's going to be that third or fourth receiver, which I think very well could be one of our tight ends in the passing game, because they will take away everything else. But as A.J. McCarron said, you can't take away everything. So if our O-line is able to protect a little bit, then you're going to see Alabama be able to pass the ball. But more importantly, I think Brian Robinson, because of his running X, is going to lead to some play action pass, which a lot of times those passes go to the tight end because you're not sure if they're blocking or going out for a route. When you look at it from a concern on whether Alabama can take control of this game and win it or not, what's your biggest concern going into this game?
Our biggest concern is finding those second and third options in the passing game, because without Mechie and because of what we know their secondary can do. I think as long as you said the offensive line can protect, Bryce can go through his progressions, I think that's the biggest key to the game, because I feel like we'll have success running the ball. I feel like we'll have success on defense, being able to slow down their offense. So I think it's Bryce being able to go through those reads and find those third and fourth options, as you said.
And when you say, you know, one of the things Nick Saban alluded to in that audio we had in the previous segment was that people say, hey, I'm able to, if we're able to get pressure on Alabama, if we're able to disrupt them. Two things Jacob pointed out, first of all, that they don't play discipline in their rush lanes, number one. And number two is I don't have the number, but I heard the guys on ESPN, Bryce Young, the key to beat Alabama is to pressure him. But guess what? Bryce Young is the number one quarterback in terms of touchdowns when pressured. So you know, how do you see Bryce Young performing in this game, and what are your thoughts in terms of his rush yards?
I think you could see something very similar to what you saw against Georgia as far as his rushing yards, that 40 to 50 yard range, maybe a touchdown. I don't know if he'll throw for 400 yards, because I think we're going to lean on Brian Robinson a lot today. But, you know, a 320 yards, 50 yards rushing, 3 to 4 touchdown total game.
What do you think the total yards are going to be for Alabama versus this Cincy defense? A very senior laden defense, when the best player on the defense is a junior. I mean, the youngest player, and he's the youngest player on that defense.
I can see us, you know, if we come out on fire, I can see us hitting that 500-yard mark. Cincinnati is a very talented team, but can they do it? Can they do it for 4 quarters? Can they get leaned on by this offensive front and run game for 4 quarters, and which will set up play action passes to tight ends and wide receivers?
They have a young man named Sanders. He's 6'4", 224. He's their best pass rusher, but doesn't have necessarily a lot of sacks per se. And then, of course, I think Beavers, they're going to play him at that defensive end a lot. But how does Alabama, if you're the coach for the day, how do you attack this 3-3 defense? What's your strategy?
I mean, I agree with what Jacob said. You run inside, you make them go unconventional. You take them out of their comfort zone. So I think Brian Robinson gets a lot of touches early to see if that defense adjusts. And if they don't, you continue to pound it. If they start to adjust, you're able to set up play actions. You're able to set up crossing routes and things like that and be able to take the top off eventually. Maybe not early, but I think it'll slowly be set up if Cincinnati doesn't adjust.
Yeah, and I'm going to say real quick that I believe that Alabama comes out, and I think we may see some 2 tight end, but not with Randolph, but with Latu and Billingsley, because we can block their defensive end. Their defensive end is a 224-pound guy, and the bigger one would be 249 if they have Beavers down at the end. And I think you run the ball, play action off of that, and I'm going to say we have at least 2 50-plus yard touchdowns, and I'm saying Williams get at least 2 if it's still required. It's really based on how the game goes. But if we're still in a game, Williams goes 50-plus twice because of the play action, them having to take a guy that's normally back in pass coverage and bring him down. And if the other guys, I think, speaking of that, who's going to be the other wide receiver? Who's that 3rd, 4th guy?
I mean, we've heard so many names. We saw Ja'Cory Brooks be the guy that came in for Mechie. He's the guy that came in for Williams. So it's hard to go against Brooks, but I agree with DC. I think you could see a lot out of Holden, but is Earl healthy enough to be a factor? If he is, I think it's Earl.
All right. Hey, give me your thoughts on Michigan, Georgia, and then give me your score for Alabama, Cincy.
I think Michigan and Georgia could be an absolute dogfight. This is a team. These are 2 teams that the quarterback's not going to beat you. They're going to beat you with their run game, and you're talking about stables on both sides with White and Cook with Georgia, and then Haskins and Corum on Michigan. And it's really going to come down to which offensive line plays better. But I'm going to go with Michigan. I think it'll be a close one. I'll say Michigan by 4.
All right. What's your Alabama score?
Alabama score will be 45-27.
All right. Hey, that's Xavier Houston, and I'm going to chime in on the Georgia game real quick. Georgia, Michigan. Georgia could come out and blow this thing out, so I will not be surprised by that. But will Alabama beat Georgia twice? I'm going to say yes. Michigan wins a close one by 1 score, maybe a field goal. Going to think you're watching 1999 football when you watch Georgia and Michigan. Alabama takes care of business and annihilates the Cincy Bearcats with a 52-20. Maybe they may get to 20. Hey, this has been Martin Houston. That's Xavier Houston. This has been the Martin Houston Show, a college football playoff semifinal special. Thanks to Mason Woods for all that he did. Thanks to all my guests, listeners, followers, viewers, chatters. Thank you. And we'll be back on Monday, hopefully talking about a big-time victory by the Alabama Crimson Tide. Remember this, trust in the Lord always. Lean not your own understanding, all your ways acknowledge him, and he will direct your path. Roll Tide, guys.
Roll Tide.
Hi, my name is Ed, and a little thing I love about the Chick-fil-A peppermint chip shake